We have to remember that African Americans who were slaves were not allowed to read. We were not allowed to do the things that we do today to get information. There was no internet. There was no go to your next door neighbor and find out what's happening. You all were working and you were considered second class citizens. And so Juneteenth for me is a celebration of people who found out that they were free but still had to fight. They had to earn their dignity. They had to find a way to live and survive and flourish in these United States of America, and we celebrate that. And those stories are important. We talk about the African American person as if it is a one dimensional being. We are not. Many of us, if we grew up in the South, our experiences are very much different than those of us who grew up in the North versus the West or versus even the East Coast. I, as a child, as a traditional African American who grew up in a middle class family, did not travel south to visit my family for the entire summer. I instead traveled to Canada. Many people will say, you must not be black. No, there were lots of black people that looked like me that were American that summered in this place called Erie, that's in Ontario, that's outside of Chatham in London in Canada. And those are the stories that as authors and storytellers and film writers and playwrights that we tell those stories because we want people to see themselves in a book. No person who is of African American descent or considers themselves African American or black or folk of color, however you identify, is not the same. If you talked about your life, Denise, and I talked about my life, our lives would be very different.
Yeah.
And so, as storytellers, that's our job. Our job is to tell those stories. And for me, writing children's books, it was an absolute honor to do so because my children did not see themselves in a book. And I have two brilliant little chocolate drop boys. And I wanted them to know that their life is more than what they see on the screen. Yes, right now, we are all enraged by what we saw with George Floyd, and we're disheartened, and we're sad, and we're frustrated, and we're angry. And some of us are mobilizing, and some of us are out protesting, and other people are organizing voters, platforms, and different things. But as storytellers, it is our job to make sure that that story is told and shared for future generations to understand and to know. And so for me, I wrote the two children's books, Rose and the Enchanted Seven, because I wanted little girls to see themselves as Black princesses. And that story is set in the ancient kingdom of Detroit. Detroit is a powerful city. It is a historic city. It is a city that put the world on wheels. Let's talk about that. We can talk about Motor City. We can also talk about the influence of Motown that it had on music. We are an important city and we have lots of history that we don't talk about. And that is African American history and American history. I wrote Look Daddy, There's a Bunny because I wanted my boys to see themselves in a everyday neighborhood, which they live in a middle class part of the city, where we have bunny rabbits, groundhogs, skunks, raccoons, possums, all kinds of fun animals. When I look in the bookstore and I see books for every other child, that's what we see. So I wanted to create something that was a reflection for African American children. And so it's picture identification that they can see, and they can go along with the story and experience what it's like to be in a whole family. We also have this thought that many times the African American family is fractured, and a lot of times it is. However, many families, including mine, we are thriving. There are mothers and fathers in the homes. We are not dysfunctional. That is a myth. There are more successful families than there are not. Lastly, and I know that this is the spiritual part, I'm a Christian, and I believe that my depression was my story to help people heal from the wounds of depression, postpartum depression, and anxiety. Jeremiah 29:11 says, the Lord, my plans for you are to prosper you, to give you a life of hope. That's a paraphrase. But essentially what he's saying is, I'm not giving you something bad to destroy your life. Depression could have destroyed my life, but it didn't. God was able to rescue me and help me. And I wrote that book so that it could help others. So I hope that you, as you listen to the authors here today, that you will take a look around, purchase books, learn more about African Americans, learn more about our history. You're going to meet some dynamic people today. So thank you for joining the Juneteenth virtual book fair, and I encourage everyone to buy books. You can find my books at kimbdavis.com, and you can
let's see your books. Let's see the books.
That's right. Let's see the books. So you can see.
We got about 4 minutes. What do you have? Show us your books.
So this is Conquering the Darkness of Depression. This is my personal story of how I overcame depression, and I have scripture in it. I also have a journal that's coming along where you'll be able to write with writing prompts. This is Look Daddy, There's a Bunny, and there might be a bit of a glare
too, so that's good. Okay.
But you can see that there are color pictures. You can see vibrancy. There are coloring pages in the back of the book, so kids can actually take a look and color the picture as they want to. Rose and the Enchanted Seven is an adaptation of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and it is about a Black princess in the ancient kingdom of Detroit, and she has to battle ancient evil.
And what age ranges for that? That one's for?
That is 3rd grade and up, so that's about 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
8 or 9 and up. And Look Daddy, There's a Bunny can start from infancy, like about 1, because you can focus on the pictures for smaller children so they can identify.
And what's the price on those two? Let's talk about
Rose and the Enchanted Seven. Rose and the Enchanted Seven is $7. Okay. Look Daddy, There's a Bunny is 10. Conquering the Darkness of Depression is 10. And then my romance trilogy, which you were talking about, is Escape to Paradise, book 1, 2, and 3. Okay, wait. Can you see it?
One at a time.
Okay.
Yeah,
so this is Escape to Paradise 1.
Back a little bit so we can see it.
Okay, there we go.
There we go.
See it? Escape to Paradise 1. I need to adjust the light a little bit. That's probably what it is.
There we go.
Okay.
Okay.
There we go. And then the second book is Escape to Paradise 2.
Okay.
A continuation of the story. And Escape to Paradise 3, which is the completion of the trilogy. And the reason that I wrote the 3 books, because again, I talk about depression. This is a story that centers around a woman who's taking care of her sister who's going through depression and it's wrecking her life. Okay. She travels to an island, St. Thomas, where she meets the owner of the villa, who happens to be a brother who has a jet. He's doing very well. And over the course of 3 books, we get to see if life will interfere in their relationship with the sister dealing with her sister who's going through depression.
Interesting. Interesting. So how did that storyline come along? Just from experience or somebody you know, or your imagination?
Imagination. Imagination is everything. So I am. So I was the kid who would sit with her girlfriends and play Barbie dolls. And then after we play Barbie dolls, we'd write stories. And we would write stories all the time and would and then go back and play our baby dolls and act those stories out.
Oh, isn't it?
So I've always had this very vast imagination. However, the depression, I wanted to fictionalize that experience that I had and exaggerate it in a story so that it could generate people to think about what it's like to experience that. You know, when you have women, typically we're called on to help our family, to help our friends, and we give and give and give and give and give. And in this book, we see the sister who continuously gives to the point where she has to say, have I given enough? How much more do I have to give? Am I sacrificing my own life so that my sister can be okay? It's a great question. So it comes down to, do you need to do that? Or, you know, can you have love and still be whole and okay and still give what you can give, but not give so much that at the detriment of yourself?
Wonderful. Well, we're wrapping up. Tell everyone how they can get your books.
So you can visit my website at kimbdavis.com. That's B as in bachelor, DAVIS.com. All of my books are available on Amazon. If you'd like, you can actually call me at
Okay.
at 650-746-4427. You can also email me at Kimberly@KimberlyBachelorDavis.com. And bachelor is BATCHELOR Davis, DAVIS.com. And I answer all emails and I do take all phone calls.
That is so wonderful. Well, thank you so much for appearing on our show. Do we have any questions from the audience, the listening audience? Any questions for Kim before we release her to the universe? Any questions? All right, they don't have any questions. So you guys, I encourage you to buy Kimberly's books. Look, Daddy, there's a bunny. Oh my God, the graphics in it they're vivid, they're colorful, and you can really like jump into the story with the kids, just the way it's written and the illustration. Beautiful book. And then that romance book, you know, take yourself to another island with her, you know, kind of walk with her, experience in her shoes and see where you end up at, right? That's that romance trilogy. Yeah, maybe it's a little Pandora box in there too.
It might be.
Your new one's going to be Pandora boxes, right?
Yeah, yes.
Everybody mixed up with each other or something. I don't know. Thanks, Kim. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much, Janice. You
are
amazing.
Yes, keep writing and continue to stay with our network so we can keep pushing you out there and you push us out there. How about that?
Absolutely.
All right. Have a good day.
All right. Bye.
Enjoy Father's Day. Tell Kevin Happy Father's Day.
I certainly will. Thank you. And tell Reggie I said Happy Father's Day.
I sure will. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Kimberly is always so refreshing to talk to. She is such a dynamic person. She has such a bubbly spirit. And I like how she is really about her game plan with writing, you know. She not only wrote one book, but she wrote 3 different genres. You know, she did the children's, the romance, and then she did the nonfiction book that talked about depression. So, you know, your writing can really, really go far. Don't be afraid of tapping in, tuning in, and turning on to your gift. You have to do it real soon. So jump in, you know, and start reading other people's books too. It'll give you some ideas on how you can twist it up and make it your own. Writing matters. Black writers matter. So our next guest, let's get into our next guest. Who we have next? James Kelly. James Kelly was born in East Harlem, New York. He has an associate degree from Bronx Community College in liberal arts, a BA in sociology and elementary, secondary education, double major from Lehman College, and a master's from Baruch College in higher education administration. Wow. He has New Jersey State teaching certificate in social studies. He has been a professional musician for 50 years, the arts, wonderful. He currently lives in Newark, New Jersey. He has received the Educator of the Year Award from the National Council of Negro Women, inducted into the Borough of Manhattan Community College Hall of Fame as one of the 50 influential Black males in the history of college. The award for cultural and educational contributions to the city of East Orange, New Jersey, from its city council. He has appeared on Gil Noble's Like It Is and is a Gold Star parent. He has taught foundation, early childhood, multicultural, and children of special needs education courses, sociology, oral communication, oral rhetoric, and speech courses on the collegiate level and African American history. Well, he even taught everything. He has facilitated life skills workshops within correctional facilities, detention centers, and educational venues. He has taught within every grade level from pre-K to college. Well, ladies and gentlemen, let's just bring Mr. Kelly on. What an astonishing background you have here, sir. Hi, James. I don't see your. Let's see if you're gonna click in. I don't see your face, but I see your name.
Oh, on let me see. Start video. There you go. Can you see me now?
Absolutely. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so very much for having me here.
Wonderful. Are you enjoying Juneteenth?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I used to teach Juneteenth. I used to teach African American history. And I used to teach about Juneteenth. And as a musician, I've been a musician for 50 years. And I performed at several Juneteenth functions for the NAACP, for Abyssinian Baptist Church in New York City. Also, in particular, I did a Juneteenth celebration for University of Connecticut in Hartford that was sponsored by the University of Connecticut and BET Network. And my band was the premier group, and it was all about Juneteenth to me is emancipation. And, you know, I was telling you before about when I was 6 years old, my mother used to take me to the store, and we used to walk around this circle, cold, hot, with these other people. And then 2 years later, she took me in that store, and I sat down at this counter, and I had this big, juicy cheeseburger and french fries and vanilla Coke, and all the people in the store was crying. Make a long story short, that store was Woolworth. And my mother was protesting that blacks could not sit at the counter. And because I was the little one that was walking around that circle, they let me sit at that counter first. So that was my first personal experience of emancipation. So I really take Juneteenth very personal. And with it being resurrected as it is, it should definitely become a federal holiday. I mean, we could, like, George Washington had 123 slaves. We could just put him back in with President's Day, and then we could take Juneteenth Day and slip that in there, and then we got a day between Memorial Day and 4th of July. Give us a little break in between. So I definitely feel that at this stage of the game, it should just go ahead and be a federal holiday. But Juneteenth to me is emancipation, and I love it.
I agree. That's great. All right, so tell us about your book. The book is called Devotee, A Mature Moral Guide to Understanding, Nurturing, and Protecting the Female Goddess. Wow.
Okay, well,
let me digest that right quick. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
You gonna show us something?
I would like to share something right quick. 49-second thing. You have to disable me on the share screen.
We're gonna check that out. And I must say, audience, let me just say, there is a disclaimer with this programming. Okay, we just learned this Zoom, phenomenal Zoom technology. So if we glimpse a little bit, just bear with us. Okay? I have to have that as a disclaimer. Okay, so do I have to? No, you should be. Well, I remember. Yes, hold on. All panelists.
Okay.
I trained pretty well.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, what a beautiful cover.
Thank you. That was my little intro. You know, Devotee was completely conceptualized, formulated, and manifested from my dealing with females who fit my paradigm of being a goddess, like yourself. I've been a professional musician, like I said, for 50 years. So, you know, and being a college professor and things like that, you know, I've met a lot of females in my life. With that background, and I noticed that there was always a certain type of female that always stood out from the group. You know, and this book describes the characteristics, histrionics, and relationships and experiences which the aforementioned certain types of females all seem to possess. When speaking with these females regarding their experiences and traits, they used to say to me, "You're telling my story." As such, I anointed them as goddesses. Again, even though I am fit in the genre of self-help and motivation, these characters do not fall. A devotee and a female human goddess does not fall into any of those categories. The histrionic struggles and triumphs of these female goddesses, and the fact that few mortals even know when they're in the presence of a female goddess, prompted me to write this book. The book instructs a devotee who can only be chosen by a goddess to be one, the manner in which they must treat a goddess. Also, one who wishes to become a devotee is taught how to become one. In addition, they will learn how to recognize and behave while they're in the presence of a human goddess. Now, I acknowledge in devotee that women who are in relationships with a goddess can also be a devotee. A devotee is not specific to gender, race, age, religion, or income specific. However, there's a certain level of awareness and knowledge that a devotee has to have. Don't worry, this book shows you how to acquire that aforementioned skill, so to speak. You know, and like I said, they're not, unlike a human unicorn, unicorns do exist. Human goddesses do exist. Can you hear me?
Yes, sure.
Okay. And, you know, hopefully after reading this book, you know, we'll be able to properly understand, nurture, and protect these rare, beautiful, exquisite, and unique celestial beings. This book was aided to assist males, female species to be motivated, inspired, and transformed into a higher being and achieve a higher state of consciousness and achieve a better awareness, not only about who you are, but also who you can become for yourself and for each other. This is not just about having an intimate relationship with a goddess, but those of you who may have a goddess for a friend, a relative, a sibling, a co-worker, a neighbor, or as I said in the book, the gay man, your fag hag. I hope this book creates a culture that will make individuals rethink and reevaluate how human goddesses are perceived and interacted with. That is the purpose of my book, Devotee.
So, who's the reader? Anybody want to learn about it?
Excuse me, you're breaking.
Who's the audience? Who should be reading this book? Should it be a man, a woman, or anyone who wants to know more about a goddess?
Anyone who wants to know more about a human goddess, because a devotee is not gender specific. Your sister could be a goddess. You need to understand what she goes through. Being a human goddess is not just a blessing, but it's a curse to them also. Your co-worker.
Is it information? How-to? Is it an information guide? What will the reader get out of this book when they open it up? What's the first thing they're going to feel when they read it?
You're going to learn about their histrionics, what they go through. You're going to learn about how you encounter one, the things, the type of music she likes, the type of food, the way she needs to be entertained, the way you need to deal with her on an intimate level. That's dealt with. You just don't make love. It's not about just being in love. You don't love a human goddess. You have to be in love with her. And you don't make love. You are feasting. You are dining on something very exquisite. And it explains it in a very humanistic and sometimes it's a little bit comical and satirical, but I think you'll love it.
I think it's mystical, that's for sure.
Hey,
again, real quick, because we have about 2 minutes. So show us that cover again if you can.
Hold on. Got it?
Okay.
There you go. There you go. See it?
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Audience, take a look at this book cover. Isn't that beautiful? So this should inspire you to buy this book. We can see it, James. We can see it.
Okay.
It's an inspiration to buy this book. I just wanted you to show that cover again so that they can get a feel for it. So.
Yeah, and that's my daughter on the cover.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And what's the price? How much does it cost?
$14.99, and you can get it on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay, wonderful. We'll take it off the screen now. It looks like we got a question from the audience. Let's see what this comment is. Madeline,
sure.
Natalie says, congratulations, Mr. Kelly. I look forward to reading your book. Wonderful.
Oh, I just want to say thank you. I think that you will love it. And guess what? This is, you know, a lot of women buy this book, but it's written for men also and women who deal with goddesses. So when you get the book, I just like to say, don't put it away once you read it. Don't put it up on the shelf. Utilize it. The chapters in there can be utilized. I have a relationship enhancement workshop in the back of it that you and your goddess can work with and utilize to enhance your relationship. And when you get it, give it to your mate. Because if he ain't a devotee, make him one.
That's what's up. We have another comment. Dupper Folsom said, beautiful cover. Okay. And it looks like we have Carla Kelly on here. I wonder who that is. Hi, Dad. Super proud of you. So hit the
yeah, that's my daughter. And she also wrote the foreword. So I think you'll find it interesting, her comments about her dad. They're all truthful because I was very young when I had her, and we kind of grew up together. She's also the lead singer in my group. So she knows a lot about me.
Wonderful. Okay. Maybe hit the screen at the top where it says, take off your book covers. See back. I can see this. Can you hit the top? All right. So,
there we go.
Well, congratulations. Is this your first book?
Very first. I've written a book regarding a workbook with life skills that I've used in correctional, detention centers, detention facilities, in educational venues, nonprofit organizations. That's why my workshop, the Relationship Enhancement Workshop, is in there. My second book is already completed, and that should be released soon, and it's entitled Men on Pause.
Okay. Do you have a website?
I'm on YouTube.
Okay. I'm
putting my website together. Also, I can be reached at kellyjam57 at optimum.net if you want to email me. But you can just go to Facebook, and I will update you as to when my website is completed. I don't do a whole lot of that. I'm just a normal guy. And anybody can contact me on Facebook, and we can keep in touch anytime you wish.
We'll list it anyway. After the show ends, we're going to list how they can get a hold of you. Well, thank you so much. We've run out of time. We're like 2 minutes over. Thanks for appearing.
Thank you. And happy Father's Day. And happy Mommy Pop Day.
You as well.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Take care.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was James Kelly, the vivacious James Kelly. Very well-accomplished Black man. You know, I'm very proud to see our brothers when they, you know, complete their education like that and get really tapped into what their passion is and what they should be doing right now in life. And he seemed to still be just so on fire. This goddess book, I think I'm gonna have to get that goddess book for my household. Not that I'm not being treated like a goddess. I think I am being treated like a goddess. But that book is definitely mystical to me. You know, it will be a new learning experience, and you know, I like to take my imagination far. I'm a reader, so I'm definitely gonna have to get James' book, and I encourage you to buy it as well. And after the show today, we're gonna put everybody that participated in our Juneteenth virtual book fair information up so that you can buy it if you want immediately or in the future. All right, who do we have next? Our third guest author today is Sebastian Sanders. Let's see if Sebastian's here. Let's see. I don't see Sebastian Sanders. Okay, we're at 2:45. Okay, maybe we had some complications here because I have him on the schedule. At 2:45. Okay, well, maybe we can do our first. We have something that we can do, guys. We have a poll. If you guys are interested in taking this poll, please do so. Okay, we're going to put it up now. And the question is, how many of you just learned of Juneteenth this year? You can participate in the poll. We can waste a little time real quick, so we can make our time useful real quick. I think that's the right answer. All right, the numbers are coming in. Let's see. Look like everybody so far knew about Juneteenth. That's wonderful. That's good. But we have no no's yet. Or no yeses that they just learned of it. I'll put it like that. Maybe Sebastian will click in shortly. Give him a little time. It looked like we have 6 people who participated, and they all said they already knew about Juneteenth. Wonderful. Okay, let's see how we can move forward. Let's talk about Juneteenth for a minute. You know, we have a few minutes that we can engage and have some lively conversation. You know, when the Juneteenth came, when I learned about it a couple of years ago, okay, probably about 5 years ago, and I thought it was important for Detroit Book City to help disseminate Juneteenth as much as we could in the Detroit area. I think it's important for us to, you know, reflect on our ancestors, you know, reflect on the struggles they went through and just how resilient they were as a people and how we are as a people now, you know, continuing to inform, educate, and entertain our culture about who we are, you know. And we put up an article on Juneteenth, which was Friday, and I wanted to read it to you real quick because we have a few minutes in between. So here it is. Why we celebrate Juneteenth. Juneteenth marks the date of June 19, 1865, when General Gordon Granger of the Union Army arrived in Galveston, Texas, to announce that President Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863, and demanded that the slaves there be set free. He quoted, "The people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equality of personal rights and rights of property between former masters and slaves, and the connection heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and hired labor." I need to let that sink in for a minute. The freedmen are advised to remain quietly at their present home and work for wages. Following Granger's announcement, the formerly enslaved African Americans broke into celebration. So for 2 years, a little 2.5 years, African Americans remained in bondage across the country, not knowing about their freedom. But today, that celebration, said to be the oldest Black American holiday, is known as Juneteenth. African Americans not only celebrated their freedom, they exercised their new rights by buying land. Since 1980, the state of Texas has observed Juneteenth as an official holiday known as Emancipation Day. Contemporary celebrations of Juneteenth include parades, street fairs, dancing, picnics, cookouts, family reunions, and historical reenactments across the country with all nationalities participating. President Barack Obama pointed out in his 2019 proclamation of the holiday that Juneteenth also serves as a time for reflection and appreciation and opportunity. So what does Juneteenth mean to me? Well, Juneteenth means to be freedom, liberty, expression, freedom of expression, freedom of will, entrepreneurship. It's just a time to reflect, you know, and it can be sad sometimes because if you look at the different eras, like the 1860s, you know, 1863, 1864, 5, and all the post-Civil War, you know, we were going through this struggle of trying to find a place for our culture in America. Then we get to, you know, after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed, then we go into the Jim Crow laws, you know. I mean, so we still were hindered from that equality and that equity that we were promised. We were freed from being enslaved. So the Jim Crow laws, they went from that period, post-Civil War, to 1968. That's when King stepped in and Malcolm and all the other civil rights leaders got into action and movement and petitioning and boycotting to give us a little bit more freedom, like the right to vote and, to some education and, and here it is, 2020. Here comes a pandemic that impacts the whole world and make us all sit still right quick. It's just totally disturbing the pursuit of happiness, and, you have people in the news and in the political realm that would tell you that these things were going to happen. They were like forewarnings ahead of time that the pandemic was coming. And then, like I said, we all come to a standstill, and then, we have police brutality going on. And now we're hearing that African-American males are being hung by trees, from trees. So, without getting too deep into it, what does Juneteenth mean to me? To keep moving forward. Why am I so grateful? Because in the midst of this pandemic, Detroit Book City, in my household, we've been blessed. I guess you just have to continue to stay self-centered, in the center, in alignment with yourself and with God. And He will work out things in the midst of storms. It's just amazing how, we have a whole new group of cultures that's buying books from Detroit Book City. Our store is temporarily closed. I don't feel comfortable being in that space by being so small, and me knowing a few people who were impacted by COVID-19, not in my family, but close to family. We lost lives, and it just was falling like left and right. Every time I opened up social media, I would see, a death. It got pretty devastating for a minute. So it's amazing how all this is happening at one time. And then another thing that amazes me is that there's so many conspiracies about what's really going on. 5G, money is not going to happen again anymore. This was all a conspiracy to start over, to get rid of blacks. What's really going on? Like Marvin Gaye said, what's going on? This is a revolution. But I encourage you to stay strong, to stay centered, stay focused, and to keep it moving. Because you have any kind of connection with the higher power, you're going to keep moving anyway. And I'm just elated and glad to know that there are other cultures. When we were marching with King, my parents marched with King when they came to Detroit. There weren't the multicultural people out there. There were just us, and then we had a few Caucasian. But today, it's a little bit of everybody. So I hope this is social change, because it's going to take unity for it to happen. It's going to take unity, because we have some pre-existing conditions that we're dealing with. And then we've been dealing with it since our ancestors came over to America. So will we still be able to pursue the life of happiness? And yeah, it's up to you. Create it. Get up every day knowing you're going to create it. Of course, your man going to go back and forth, but create it. You have to create it. You have to create it. It's already built in on the inside of you. Just water it, nurture it. Keep things in perspective with everything. Every person you deal with, every people you engage with, and every place you go to. So I didn't want to talk today, but because I'm not branding Janice. I'm not branding me at all. I'm branding reading and literacy and reading and buying Black books, and providing libraries for your home, for your kids and your grandkids. Because the more you read, the more you're going to know what's happening, what's going on. And the more you know, the better you are. I guess I'll say that again. The more you know, the better you are. So keep reading. If you're watching right now, you're this part of our listening audience, keep reading, and give some books to your friends and your family. And, we have some great books on our website. We have some great authors in our network. Black books. The future looks bright for Black authors. It looks very bright. But in order for it to continue and sustain itself, we're going to have to buy their books, and we're going to have to buy them regularly. And we need to buy them for our kids. I can't stress that, because Detroit has a 47% adult illiteracy rate. We have to change that generational gap for our children. It's up to us. They are our next future business leaders. Give the gift of a book going forward. We have discount prices on our store. And these phenomenal authors that's come into place, all their books are reasonably priced. You got vivid art and illustrations and the language in it, the narrative in it. It's our experience. So our kids need to know more about us, and that we can live in the light, and that we do live in the light. So hey, that's my commentary for today. I think we're ready for our next author. All right, who do we have next? At 2:40, let's see, 3 o'clock. Kwame. Kwame Sarfo Mensah is our next guest author. He is a 14-year veteran urban educator and founder of Identity Talk Consulting, LLC, an independent educational consulting firm that provides professional development and consulting services to educators globally who desire to enhance their instructional practices and reach their utmost potential in the classroom. He is also the author of 2 books, Shaping the Teacher Identity, 8 lessons that will help define the teacher in you, and From Inaction to Inaction, creating a new normal for urban educators. He's a proud graduate of Temple University. Kwame holds a bachelor's degree in mathematics and a master's degree in elementary education. He was recognized as the 2019 Black Educators Rock Inc. National Member of the Year and the 2019 Massachusetts Celebrity Educator of the Year for his unwavering commitment to the teaching profession. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Kwame to our Juneteenth platform. Hi, Kwame. Are you there? Oh, I can see you, but I can't hear you. Let's see. Let's see if we can fix that. Our disclaimer is that you have to bear with us so that we can make sure that all of our authors are okay. Do you hear me? I can't hear you. Say something. Testing, testing. Do you see me? Oh, he doesn't see me either? Okay, I'm sorry, audience. Bear with us. Okay. Are we having technical difficulty? Okay, now it looks like you're connecting to audio.
All right.
Oh, here we are. Okay, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm great. We were having some technical difficulties. I hope our audience was patient with us because we do have a disclaimer that there may be some because we're learning this virtual thing. So, happy Juneteenth to you.
Well, thank you so much.
What's your spin on Juneteenth? What's your spin?
My spin on Juneteenth? Juneteenth is a chance to write a new narrative, but it also serves as a reminder of America's original sin. Huh. So I can understand how some folks will say, well, I don't know how I feel about people saying Happy Juneteenth because it serves as that reminder. I look at it as a chance for us to rewrite the narrative and to start a new beginning for our culture. And that's what I intend to do through my platform and the work that I do as an educator.
Speaking of that, your background is very, very impressive. You look so young. Tell us about is this your business that you're what do you do right now?
So I am an educator, first and foremost. I taught at the middle school level for the past 14 years. Wonderful. And as recently as a couple years ago, I started to make the transition into educational consulting because I realized that a lot of issues that we see within our urban school systems, they're harder to solve when you're within the system. Uh-huh. So I figure if I can take myself out of it, I can have more of an impact on not only the district, but the teachers, and then consequently, that will help my students. So with that, I actually started this journey a couple years ago. January 2018, I was on paternity leave with my son, who's now 2.5. And I just thought, I have a lot of experiences I want to share, but I just need to find a way to convey it to a larger crowd. So that's why I decided to write my first book, which is called Shaping the Teacher Identity, 8 lessons that will help define the teacher in you.
Awesome.
And I started to write this book because I noticed that there were so many teachers leaving the profession because the work was so hard, but also realized that many of them were leaving because they were severely underprepared to take on the rigors of the urban classroom. So whether it was not having the classroom management skills to manage behaviors, or just not having the pedagogy or the content knowledge to effectively teach a lesson, I knew that there was a void there that needed to be filled. So I thought, well, as someone who's taught for many years, I can share my experiences and write them in the form of lessons so that people who are coming down the pipeline will not repeat the mistakes I made. I was actually someone who ended up being let go from my first job as a lead teacher. And there were some things that went on that were totally illegal as far as how that was supposed to go. But I didn't have the knowledge to advocate for myself at that time. So for those who are in education, you know that in order for you to be in that position, you have to have evaluations. People have to come into your classroom to observe you teach and to see how you're performing. And if you're not performing at the required level, then you should go through a process of post observations with your supervisor, whether it's a principal or an instructional dean. And none of those things ever happened. And even when I was reaching out for help through my leadership team, they'll give you superficial feedback like, oh, Kwame, you're good. You're a math whiz. You can figure it out. And I'm telling them, I'm a first year teacher. I really need your help. I need some guidance on my lesson plan and everything. And, my story is just one example of how people end up leaving the teacher profession. But there are thousands of people who have been through similar situations, and instead of staying the course, they end up leaving. So I wanted to write this book as a way to not only lower teacher turnover rates, but to increase the retention rates, especially when it comes to our Black teachers, particularly our Black male teachers, because more of us need to be in the classroom. I mean, right now, only 7% of the teaching force is of African American descent. And then if you look at that number, only 2% of that are Black male teachers. That doesn't make sense given the demographics that we know in many urban school districts.
Wow, interesting. So your book, is that for the teacher then? Is that for the teacher?
Yes, so the book is for the teacher primarily, but I've had parents buy the book as well because they want to get the behind the scenes look of what happens in the classroom.
Right.
Because many parents, they'll drop their kids off to school thinking that the school has it covered. They don't have to worry about their children for the next 6-7 hours, but they don't realize some of the nuances, some of the situations that take place during that time frame. So I wanted to unpack that for parents and community members so that they'll have some knowledge that they can take into district meetings,
Right.
town hall meetings, so they can properly advocate for their children, because a lot of parents don't know. Even when you look at COVID-19,
That's a big deal.
and the issues going on with technology access, the issues going on with food security, food deserts, the fact that some students aren't able to access their classes because the power went off. A lot of these issues that we're seeing now have always been there, but for a lot of parents, this is their first time seeing this.
Yeah, because you sit still for a minute, right? You're sitting still.
Right. And right, exactly. And when you're in a public school district like I was, you can't, it's hard for you to say what's really going on, especially as a Black man in education, because we don't get 9 lives.
Right.
We can only say but so much. So we try to do it in a way that's cryptic to relay the message. Because at the end of the day, for a lot of us, this is our livelihood. This is how we provide for our families. This is how we feed our children. And if we go out and say the truth, sometimes there are repercussions for that. And that's what deters a lot of people from saying what's really going on.
You're speaking the truth. Yeah.
Right. But now that COVID-19 is taking place and we've made this shift to online learning, a lot of these issues are really coming to surface in terms of educational equity. And now school districts are forced to address these issues.
Forced to address those issues.
Yeah, they have to.
Tell us about your second book, though, From Action to Inaction. Let's see that cover.
So it's a perfect segue into the second book, From an Action to Inaction. So if you notice here, you have the stick figure separating the in from the action. So that's intentional because a lot of educators, like myself, at one time, we saw what the issues are. We saw the injustices that took place in our classrooms and within our school communities. And we saw it so often that we became indifferent or desensitized to what was going on. And as a result, we didn't take the right course of action to remedying some of these issues, either because we felt like our voice didn't matter, or no matter how loud we were, it was always 20 against 1. You know, I'm the only Black male teacher in my school, or one of a few. If I don't say anything, no one else is going to care. So why bother saying anything? And so many educators find themselves in this situation where they feel like they're alone in this journey, in this quest to revolutionize the way we do education. So I wrote this book to highlight some of the issues that go on in urban schools, because we're trying to create a new normal for urban educators.
They need some guidance if we're going to create that. Where are they going to get it from? You know?
Right. Right. So some of the themes that I talk about in the book include career development for our high school and middle school students. They need to be more exposed to careers. And we need to reshape the way we do school, because the way we're doing it now is very archaic. And we're in the Generation Z era. So we need to get our students more familiar with technology, but we have to get into our schools as well. They need to be able to see the type of careers that they can have with technology. Just look at some of the YouTubers and the TikTok users who are now monetizing off of their talent because they're able to use their skills in technology to generate revenue. And this is not something that we're teaching in schools. We're still teaching math and science and ELA.
Some stuff that, I'm gonna let you talk.
Right.
Yeah.
Like skills that we didn't get a chance to learn when we were back in grade school. So I just feel like we're in an era where we have to reshape the way we're doing education.
I'm looking at your website right now, and tell them how they can get. First of all, what's the price on your books? Shaping the Teacher Identity. What's the price on that one?
So Shaping the Teacher Identity, you can get for $20 if you want to get an autographed copy. I'll mail it to you directly. You can also get it on Amazon.
Okay.
It's there. And then you can also get From an Action to an Action for the same price, $20 if you want the autographed copy, and I'll mail that to you. Or you can go to Amazon to get a copy directly.
Okay.
As far as
your website?
So my website is identitytalk4educators.com. If you go to the website, click on the books tab, and you'll come across the 2 books and how you can purchase both of them.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, congratulations on your writings. I think they're going to have a positive impact. You know, we have some teachers in our network, just so you'll know, as being a bookstore. So I would love to refer them to two of those two books. I just talked to one of those teachers yesterday. We do some of their print work too, as well, because we're a print company. But I would definitely recommend your books to them, because they are definitely working in a public school, trying to transition some things. You just say it's so tough.
Yes, and
Timing for this is so relevant.
that's so true. And I was just in Detroit a couple years ago for a conference, the Carlsbad conference down at the Renaissance Hotel, and I really got an education around some of the issues with Detroit public schools, which are very similar to many urban metropolitan areas in our country. So I would definitely love to connect with some DPS educators, and they can get copies of both of these books.
Awesome. So does any of our audience viewers have any questions for Kwame? This is the time to ask any questions. Okay, I encourage you guys to buy his book. If you know a teacher, I encourage you to refer those teachers to his website, which again is identitytalkforeducators.com. And we are going to put your information up today. All the authors that appeared this weekend on our show, we're going to put them up this weekend so people have access to buying your books. Thank you so much for coming on to our Juneteenth virtual celebration, celebrating Black authors. And I wish you all the luck in the world. And I know you're going to do very well with this book and whatever books you got coming out in the future. But it's up to us to make sure that your books promote. We have to buy them. So that's what this platform is for, is to introduce the audience, the Black audience, to Black writers.
Yes, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
All right. Well, talk to you soon.
All right. Bye-bye.
Weekend. Okay.
You too.
All right. So that was Kwame. His last name is Sarfo Mensah. Like I said, we will put his information up at the end of the book fair, so you guys can get a hold of his book, especially if you know some teachers. I think Detroit Public Schools need a lot of guidance right now. I know they're trying to progress with the new superintendent. I try to keep up with it a little bit, but you know, if he has the hands-on experience and worked in these public sectors and the young really can reach out to our youth better than the old school, you know, us. But anywho, it looked like he has some really, really good content and guidance in these books. Very, very profound. All right, so we are at 3:17. Let's see who our next speaker is. We are author. We have Michelle Smith. See if I can pull up Michelle's information. Mind you, our show is very informal. We sell books, so we have a very relaxed environment. And we ask that as a disclaimer that you bear with us if we run into any technical difficulties, because this virtual world is a new thing to us, and we're trying to master it as much as we can and make good use of it, mostly because COVID-19 to me is still out there. I don't see a vaccine. I don't even know if I want to see a vaccine. I guess I should say that. But it's still out there. So we cannot do our physical book fair. So we know that this type of format is what's going to work for us right now. And we're going to make it the new norm so we can keep moving forward. So let's talk about Michelle. Michelle is a native of Baltimore, Maryland. Michelle's passion for the Lord led her to study the word by putting it into poetry form. Michelle realized that in her career in cosmetology, it led her to meet people who has never understood or read the Bible. Michelle wrote spiritual poems to encourage and to help others study the word. She believed we are to meet people where they are in order to bring them up. God doesn't see the mental, physical, or material part of you. God sees your heart, and we should all seek him for our purpose. Like that. It's pretty profound. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring Michelle to the Juneteenth platform.
Hello?
Hi, Michelle. I can't see you, but I see your name. Maybe I need to do something on my end. So let's go over here.
No, here I go. Oh, you didn't start it.
Okay, let's see. Have that disclaimer. Let's see. Hold on. We're going to find you. Okay. I have my eyes. Let's try it now.
Here we go.
There you are. How are you today?
I'm good, and yourself? How are you?
Wonderful. It's been a long weekend, that's for sure. I'm a little drained with the heat, but I can't complain. You know, I have no complaints.
Right.
So,
No complaint.
tell us about your feelings about Juneteenth. How do you feel about it? How did you experience the weekend? Where are you?
How do I'm kind of baffled because as much as people keep saying they know about June 19th, to me, talking to a lot of people, they didn't know the significance of June the 19th. I feel like as a community, we've lost it. We never was able to explain to young kids what it means. Some people in the South just feel like they're just having a cookout. I just feel like to know that these slaves that were enslaved for over 300 years were freed, to know that they were probably physically free, but not spiritually or mentally free. Like, I feel like we need to teach our young people to understand that so many people died for us, but at the same time, it's been going on for so long in different types of communities and different type of atmosphere, different type of lifestyles. You know, I learned about Juneteenth because my mother made me sit in front of the TV to watch Roots every year that it came on. And I heard Alex Haley talk about June 19th, and I heard him talking about Rosewoods. So when the movie Rosewood came on, it was in my mind, like, let me figure out what happened in Florida back in 1923. But if nobody spoke it to me, I probably would have overlooked it. So I feel like we have to teach, you know, the Martin Luther Kings and the Malcolm X, they died for us to have a better life. The slaves died for us to have freedoms. And then we have I say, like, right now, the lifestyle that we have the George Floyds who died to wake up the sleeping giants. Put on that one. You know, because I think we've been settled for so long and not really wanting to teach these kids. We're waiting for the schools to teach them. We got to teach them. We got to let them sit around and talk about where we came from and where we need to go in order for them to understand spiritually. The slaves was based on spirit. The Lord got them through. They got through by faith, not by just saying we're going to be free, but they had faith enough to know that we will be free someday. And it happened. So that's my probably dilemma with June 19th.
I respect that. I respect that. Well stated. Well, tell us about your book. Is it Best with Poetry book or is it Blessed?
It's Blessed with Poetry. That's like the background. The background is saying, it's showing the sky and the breakthrough. The sun is shining, so it's a breakthrough. So it's always going to be a breakthrough. So I probably started that. It was my way of studying the Bible. Because when you go to church and you listen to the scholars, you're thinking like, I need to read the whole Bible. But you can take a verse, and that verse from the Bible can teach you a whole lot. So I started by listening to people talk about that never stepped foot in church, and they don't want to go to church. And what am I gonna read the Bible for? I can't understand. I love the King James Version, but they didn't understand it. So sitting as a cosmetology, I might as well have a psychology degree, because listening to some of the things that people say, how can I comfort them if I didn't know? So I put it in simple rhyming form because I wanted people to understand it in a way to make them memorize it. So when I talk to young people, it was easy for them to memorize it in a rhyming form. So I broke it down into the stories, because the Bible is nothing but the young and the restless, the God and light, all of them tied up in one. If you read and listen into the stories, that's all it is. So that's where it came on for me being able to conversate. And I had this one young lady who did not want to go to church anymore because she had an outs with something in church and she didn't want to go. So she would ask me for my poems, and she said my poems kept her in her relationship with God. So that's the reason why I started it that way. And I decided to put it in a book because she was like, please put it in a book. So that's what happened.
How many pages do you have in the book? How many pages?
I only did a small, only did 100, and it's only 100 and something pages, because I didn't want to overwhelm because it's poetry.
Only
Because
of course.
yes. So actually, I didn't even put a table of contents in the book because I wanted the people to just open up, like you open up the Bible and the scripture hits you. I wanted them to open up and a poem hit them that might help them through that day.
Well, that higher power was definitely working for you because you have a book of poetry with a 100-page book of poetry. That's wonderful. That's wow. Are you going to do some poetry for us today?
I can read a little something. Let's go to Psalms 23 because most people know Psalms 23. So I call it Through the Valley. This particular scripture, David leads us to know that God is our protector, provider, and guidance for sure. God leads us through righteous directions for our souls and gives us time to rest as we grow. But this scripture not only tells us that God is the way, he lets us know what happens even if we go astray. Even if we stray, we keep his love, for he will renew our strength that comes from above. So just think, to lie down in green pastures, as you know, the road is tough, but the Spirit of God will lighten the load. This means he also gives us time to rest, time to heal in the place of comfort that makes us blessed. He leads us beside the still waters, as you can see. He calms our troubled minds and allows us to breathe. But God doesn't just restore us for ourselves in need. He restores us for his name's sake. That's true indeed. But for if God will restore us, then we can proclaim righteousness to others. In Jesus' name, he will spread the word to our sisters and brothers. So when walking through the valley in the shadow of death, how can we be afraid of anything in our steps? Even in the shadow, there's a light that will always shine, for you cannot have a shadow without light every time. So that's a part of that one. I didn't know if I need to go too far down.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And that's all from your soul. That's coming right deep from out of there, right?
Yeah.
So when did you publish the book? When did it publish?
I published it right before the corona, because I suppose I had a book signing, and since corona hit, I didn't have the book signing or anything. This is my first poetry book, but I have like 2 more to put out. I've been writing poetry since I was younger, ever since I found out about Phyllis Wheatley, and knowing that she was our first Black poet and she was a female, and I was like, all I know was Langston Hughes. So I just felt like I could do this. Because I'm the person who don't want to talk, but then you see I'm talking too much. When I talk, I do talk. But I'm the person that would rather write something for you opposed to me writing it myself and speaking it myself. So I just been trusting in God to say, look, this is what you gave me. So instead of me letting you take it away from me, let me spread your word this way to others.
So you're healing through poetry. Your book heals through poetry, pretty much. That's a great book. It's like a great book. And tell everyone how much your book costs and how they can get it.
My book is $15. They can get it on Amazon, or they can get it at my website at blessedwritings.com. My email address is blessedwritings2019@gmail.com. I'm on IG at blessed.with.poetry.
All right, great. We're going to repost that too at the end of the session. Matter of fact, all the authors that came on this weekend, we're going to post your information so people have access to getting your book. Let's see. I think we have a question. Let's see from the audience. Hi, Michelle. Will you be producing? Wait, Leslie asked. Hi, Michelle. Will you be producing about book? I can't wait to read this one. Another book? Okay, let me read that again. Will you be producing about book? Michelle, I don't think we understand. Leslie, I don't think we understand your question. I can't.
I think you want to know if I'm going to produce
another book. I'm sorry, I see that. Another book.
Yes, I will.
Wonderful. So what are the future plans for you?
Well, my second book is going to be a poetry book also, and it's going to be more poetry, but at the same time, it's going to be a workbook. So you might get something different out of what that scripture meant to me, And I want you to be able to write it down yourself and understand it yourself. So it's going to be a workbook with it.
Awesome. Well, congratulations. This is something to definitely celebrate. This is your debut book. It's your work, it's your poetry, and it's 100-something pages of poetry. I'm sure most of them pages in there can heal somebody. So if you guys are a poetry lover, make sure that you purchase the book from Michelle.
And,
Awesome.
Congratulations. It's going to help them understand the Bible as well, and for them to have their personal relationship with God on their own.
Yeah, that's a significant part. That's what I like about your book, is that it help you understand the Bible, because a lot of people don't. That's why they don't read it. You know, right. I remember growing up when I was a little girl. I'm like, what is this Bible? You know, but thank God we have better translated Bibles now. You know, where it's a little more layman terms. You know, but I don't know if you should read all the Bibles. You know, not the King James version is the one that I would suggest as well. But to put that with your poetry book, that's wonderful. Congratulations. Where are you located? What city are you in?
I'm in Baltimore, Maryland.
Baltimore, Maryland's in the house. All right. Wonderful. Yeah. We are so honored to have you on our Juneteenth virtual book fair. I mean, I don't know if I ever explained to you, but we usually have physical book fairs where we invite, we usually have between 60 and 80 Black authors set up. You know, they decorate their tables and have the banners behind them. And, you know, we draw out like between 200 to 1,000 people. They'll come out and they'll buy the books from these African-American authors. So we just finished our book fair in February, right before the pandemic.
I will be at the next one.
That sounds good. We'd love to have Baltimore, Maryland in the house. So thank you so much for coming on the show. I hope you had a great Juneteenth, and keep writing. Bring some more books out and stay connected with Detroit Book City. We have some new platforms that we're going to be offering to you guys to sell on our marketplace. It would just strictly be African Americans. So stay in touch. We'll be in touch with you if you want to sell on that, and you just have to fulfill your own orders. Okay, you just have to upload, put your books up, and when you get orders, you'll send them out.
Okay, sounds great. I would love to connect to others. I appreciate it.
All right, well, you have a great rest of your day, and if your dad's around, tell him Happy Father's Day.
I will. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Have a blessed one. All right.
All right, that was refreshing to meet a poetry writer. I was excited to meet Michelle because I don't think we had anyone on our roster this weekend that wrote poetry and then have a spiritual spin to it. You know, you can't lose with having a book like that in your possession. You know, you might be under a dark cloud, or, you know, poetry touches the soul. It really does. It touches the soul. You know, sometimes I'll read it and I have to read it again and again and again just for it to digest. But, you know, you can't go wrong buying a poetry book from an African-American writer, especially if you want to know about the Black experience. You know, get a poetry book from us. It'll share everything with you. It's kind of raw, you know, but I like that she has that spiritual spin to it. So if you are in a dark place, you know, you have some biblical aspect to that poetry book. All right, so we are going to take a really quick break, guys. It's 3:33. So I will be back at 3:44 so that we can make sure our next author gets on the platform, which is Raquel and her son, Lorenz Tolson. So I'll see you in about 10 minutes. Okay, we are back a little bit early here.
Hello.
Hi, I'm going to put you on hold for 1 minute.
Okay.
All right. We are back. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for allowing me to take a break because, I've been talking all weekend since Friday. Friday we introduced 8 authors in the areas of romance, history, just how-to books. Yesterday we did the children's authors, and today, we have these self-help spiritual authors. So, I had to take a little break to get myself together. So I appreciate your patience. Oh, look down at the bottom of the screen. Look like we have a question. Oh, great. Somebody told everybody I'll be right back. All right. All right. Let's go ahead and get started with our next author, which is Raquel and Lorenz Tolson. I forgot the background. Okay. So our next book authors are a mother-son duo, Dr. Raquel Tolson and Lorenz Tolson. They want to help parents raise resilient children. Resilient begins with a connection to God, our source. Dr. Raquel has degrees in pharmacy, law, and counseling. Wow, impressive. And Lorenz has a master's degree in secondary education and is currently a high school music teacher. They know firsthand how resilience is necessary to reach goals and to be successful. So without further ado, let's bring on Raquel and Lorenz Tolson. Hello.
Hi.
How's it going?
Good.
Good. Welcome to Detroit Book City's Juneteenth Virtual Book Fair. We're so glad to have you guys here. Are you enjoying Juneteenth? I see your t-shirts.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, we are. You see what we said is freedom manifested.
Oh, I love it. I
Right.
love
Because
that.
they were always free in their mind.
Always free in our mind.
Always free in their mind, despite what people like Kanye West said.
Exactly.
It wasn't a choice. Okay? They were always free in their mind.
By no means it was a choice. By no, they don't realize we fought. We fought like crazy to try to say where we were belong, but
Hey, some of us poisoned our masters. Okay?
there's some things to try to survive. We was a resilient people. I love that word.
Yes.
So when I was talking about that real quick, what is your spin? What's your spin on Juneteenth?
Well, it is exactly what I said. So Juneteenth was just the day that freedom was manifested for all of the enslaved African people. But like I said, they were always free in their mind. They taught their kids about freedom. They remembered, even though everybody didn't run away for freedom, but they knew that in their hearts that one day they would be free. And if they weren't, their children's children would be free. And they always had that thought that God was going to make sure that they were free people. And it just happened to be manifested at that time. You understand? And so that's why when we celebrate, I like to celebrate the manifestation of it, because then it also reminds me that there are some things that I still need to be free from. I need to be free from debt. I need to be free from this obesity that I have, got taken to in this last few years of mine. And I need to be free from that. And it can be manifested just like the freedom was manifested from our ancestors. What about you, 25-year-old?
What about you?
I really do like my mom's definition of it in aspects of what it started as and what it came to be. For me, because I'm looking more in the future, I think as now that it's kind of a resurgency, as you would put it, as people are starting to finally learn about it now, what Juneteenth means today is just to look back and be like, we have flaws in this country. We're not the perfect country that people have made it seem to be, or it wasn't great to begin with. You know what I'm saying? Without saying it, but America wasn't always this great place that people always meant it to be, because we still had these people, our people, who had to fight and continue to fight for our freedom. So yeah, and I think that the way that she put it, as far as we need to free ourselves continually, I think we all do as people need to continue to free ourselves from burdens that we might put on ourselves or from outside factors that are put on us as well. So Juneteenth is just a day of celebration that we can say, let us free ourselves again.
Yeah. And Janice, so our Tosin Publishing, our motto is books to make you think about what you think about. And it really is about a freeing of your mind. You know, everything that we do is about freeing your mind, from our children books to our fiction books to our nonfiction books. It's all about freeing your mind. And you know what? And it's Sunday. I don't want to start preaching, but the main thing that I think people need to get free from, Black people, white people, Hispanic people, Asian people, everybody, getting free from the idea that we are separate from God. Because somewhere, somebody made us feel like God is sitting high and looking low. And I know everybody in church like to say that, but let me just free you right now. God is not sitting high. God is right here. God is right here. God is right there wherever you are. He's inside of you, or she, Father, Mother, God, they're inside of us, and they are working through us, up to us and through us. God's hand, God don't send manna from heaven no more. He may have done that, but he sends manna through us. It's all of us working together and being God. So if everybody can just free their mind that they are separate from God, this world's gonna be a better place. Even the people that hate people that look like me, they won't have to hate me because they know that God lives in them. So why you ain't gotta be afraid of me. You ain't gotta be afraid of my greatness, because you got greatness in you too. I'm not one to say that we the only ones that's great. You know what I'm saying? We all are great. And once we all realize that, you don't have to hate me because of how I look and because I know who I am.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk about those books then. Would you say they are, I see they are affirmations. And they remind you how free you are through your affirmations, right? Let's talk about those books. You got me all riled up now, I'm ready.
So the affirmations that you're talking about, that's our latest children's book, Ren's Affirmations. God is good and so am I. And basically what it was that we wanted to teach my future children and the children in our lives that when we tend to tell children like, oh, you're such a good child, but why? Why are they such a good child? Is because they're acting good? No, they always have good in them. And I think if we can teach our children to understand who they are and believe in who they are, not only are we going to build stronger kids because they're just going to know who they are, but we're also going to build those resilient children that no matter where they are, whether somebody says, oh, you're ugly. No, I'm not. God didn't make me that way. I see beauty when I look in the mirror, you see what I'm saying? Or when you, in the climate that we're in now, oh, you're Black, so you're bad, or I'm gonna, frisk you. No, my Black is beautiful. That's just how I was made. I am a child of God. You are a child of God. We all the same. Ren's Affirmations, just a little quick excerpt. The one that I like is at the end. God is glorious. I am glorious. I am beautiful on the inside and on the outside.
Oh, wonderful. It's empowering. It's very empowering.
Yeah. So when we were making this, like, we have these affirmations, God is good and so am I, but then what does that look like for a kid? For a kid, being good is to sharing your toys. I'm good because I can share my toys, or, I can have good things. For a kid, having good things mean what? Having a lot of toys, having a room full of toys. So in that picture, we have a kid with a room full of toys and sharing with his friends, because we have to put it in the way that the kids can understand it. And if I was saying it to a 25-year-old, I might have a shiny new car. A shiny Corvette for my son. That's what he wants. A shiny Corvette, because he deserves good things because he's good and he can have good things. Now I'm not, you know what I mean? So it's just to teaching them that kind of stuff. And then when you start early, it is, man, what our kids could do if they really took hold of the affirmations that they are made in the image and likeness of God.
And then another one is we talk about God is power. I am power, and it says that I have the power to make my dreams come true. And so it has a picture of Ren's. He has a lemonade stand. So the dreams that he might have is to buy more toys, but he has the power to create a business in order to get what he wants.
He don't just have to ask Santa Claus for the toys. So I taught my son about Santa Claus, and I tell him, you still got to believe, okay? But what I also taught him, when you want something, you make it happen. The thing that you really want, the thing that's on the top of your list, you go out and buy it and wrap it up and put it on the tree. To Lorenz, from Lorenz. What? And then that way on Christmas morning, you know you got exactly what you want. So then what Santa brought you, the one gift that Santa brought you, you're like, oh, that's cool. The gifts that your mama and daddy brought you, oh, cool. But you know for a fact that you got exactly what you wanted because you made it happen. You went out and bought it for yourself.
Self-sufficient, huh?
Self-sufficient.
So your children books, you have 2 children titles, correct? The ones behind you, those are, and how much are they?
So the Ren's bedtime prayer, that one is $14.95. It's a hardback, hardcover, and this one is actually put it back. So this one, my mother, his grandmother, she passed away back in 2009. But they used to always say their bedtime prayer together and things like that. And so we wanted a way for his kids who would never actually meet her in person to experience getting put to bed by her, basically, you know, and all the other kids that are special in our lives, because Granny was a special person. So we made sure that they are going to have that. And that was $14.95.
And then Ren's Affirmations, it's a paperback, so it's going to be $11.95. $12.95.
Yes. Yes. We also have this journal. I am blessed journal. Oh, I think I need to back up. We have this, it's that one right there. I am blessed journal. And it's really it's for yourself to make a daily decision to be blessed, because you know, it's not about money, it's not about things, because people with money and things kill themselves because they don't feel blessed. So you have to make a daily decision to be blessed. But we also think that it's a good tool for parents to use with their children, you know, and at the dinner table, go around like, what happened to you today that made you happy, that made you feel blessed? You know, we have that attitude that every day we're blessed. So even if you have a situation where you have kids that don't have a lot of toys, but they can feel blessed because they have a mother that made them some dinner, or they feel blessed because they have friends, you know. So it's just making a daily decision to be blessed. And
it's also about taking the negative and actually turning it into positive. So what lessons did you learn from today? And so it's just changing the mindset, like we talked about, making books that make you think about what you think about, but it's about changing that mindset of, just because it was negative in that moment, what can we learn from that to either help us later to either not experience those things, or was there something that it was just a life lesson and we have to go through that's going to make us a better person later on?
I love those books.
And then we have the one that most people really hate this title, Why Are Church Folk Poor? It's elevate your thoughts and exercise. See your face right there, how you did that? Exercise your faith. Elevate your thoughts and exercise your faith. Because I feel like in church, we always talking about, oh, I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me. And you say, oh, well, you want to be a doctor? You're like, no, I can't do that. You're like, oh, I can't do math.
So who's the writer of that book? You, Raquel?
I wrote this book, yes, Denise. I wrote this one. And it is really, you know, like I said, I just want people, and it's not like I'm saying that church folk are poor, all church folk are poor. That is not what I'm saying. But there are some things we may not have and we may not do because we don't feel like we can do it. But we constantly are saying that I can do all things through Christ. So let's elevate those thoughts. Get back up to there where you can do all things. And then what you got to do is exercise your faith, because faith without works is dead. So after you have that thought, then you got to go out there and do it. That means you got to go apply for school. You got to go out and apply for the jobs or whatever you want.
I love you.
Yeah, so that's what we doing over here in LA.
LA? Is that where you guys calling in from, LA?
Yes.
Oh, that is so wonderful to do.
Yes. Yes.
Now, Tolson Publishing, your company, how long has it been around?
I actually started Tolson Publishing a few years ago to publish my books. And so right now we only we publish the works that we do. Hopefully we get to the point where we can start publishing other people who actually are writing books to make you think about what you think about. Even in my fiction book, Undefiled, I have
got a lot of books.
Even in my fiction books, so Undefiled, we make sure you.
Okay, you can show it right quick. Go ahead. You're on the screen. Show what else you have.
Undefiled. I think if Lorenz moves over.
Well,
okay, there you go. Because I can't do stuff. That's why you got children.
okay.
So even in my Undefiled book, it's about thinking what you think about, because the Bible says that the marriage bed is undefiled, but a lot of people think stuff is dirty and nasty and like, ugh. It's like, come on, if your marriage bed is undefiled, it's undefiled. So even in our fiction books, we kind of get, creative, but it's all about thinking about what you think about.
So all your books are on your website. Tell everyone how they can get your books.
So you can go to www.tolsonbooks.com. We have all of our books there. Tolson Books, TOLSON Books, BOOKS.com.
And if you get the book today, and put in the coupon code Juneteenth, you will get free shipping.
Awesome.
Yes. And I will probably extend it for tomorrow too, just in case some people hear this later on. But if they use the coupon code Juneteenth when they go to TolsonBooks.com, they will get free shipping.
Okay, we'll make sure we make a note of that. We're going to list all of the speakers or authors who presented themselves on our platform this weekend at the end of the day. So we'll put that information up. Well, thank you guys. You're so on fire out there in LA. I am so glad that you guys reached out to us and you saw the advertisement, us looking for authors across the country to share with the world about your book. Because this will be on Facebook and YouTube, and we have a pretty nice followership. And with that movement going on of everybody buying our books right now,
yes.
So maybe people can learn about the Black experience so they won't be so afraid of it.
Yes.
We're good people. We're resilient people.
Yes, exactly, resilient.
Thank you so much for doing this, Janice, and thank you for having us here.
Our pleasure. And I'm going to talk to you guys about being a part of our marketplace too, where people will connect to our website and they'll go to our marketplace and just buy African American books from African American writers. That's coming up very soon. Okay?
Oh, awesome. That sounds great. Thank you. And I just want to say happy Father's Day to everybody that's out there, all the fathers out there, the stepfathers that stepped in when they didn't have to, everybody, uncles and grandfathers.
All right. I'm sure they receive it. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. Stay safe out there in LA. Stay safe, and we'll be in touch very soon. All right.
Thank you so much. Blessings.
I love the shirts.
Thank you.
All right. That was Mother and Son. Wow. Weren't they on fire? I'm very impressed with Tolson Publishing. You guys have to visit their website. It's Tolson, T-O-L-S-O-N Books. Like I said, we will put this information up at the end of the day. At least by tomorrow morning, all of them will be up. Just their information on how to get to their websites to buy their books. But their children books are just so wonderful. These books are so needed with our young kids early on. They start reading like this early on, these affirmations, it will stick with them. It will stick with them, and it will develop into very productive people. Who are awakened. Living and awakened is two different things than living and drifting. So great books. And she has some other books on here too. I see Single and Saved. So they have a total of 6 books. That's a very dynamic mother and son team. Very dynamic. I'm very proud of them. All right, it is 4:02. Our next guest author is Dr. Saudia, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Twine. If we could read some background about Dr. Twine. Okay, Dr. Saudia Twine is a licensed marriage and family therapist and professional counselor and relationship coach. She believes every person wants to love and be loved. During her research, she has found that they may not necessarily know how to appropriately give and receive the love they both want and need. Her passion and purpose are to help others experience love without fear. Her motto is, in order to connect, you gotta let them see you naked. Okay, let me say that again. In order to connect, you gotta let them see you naked. And as an emotional vulnerability coach, she helps clients overcome fear of intimacy and relationship challenges by encouraging them to embrace vulnerability, which opens the door to healthy emotional expression and connection. Dr. Twine hosts the Eros Meets Agape podcast and owns a private sector, New Beginnings, Fresh Start Counseling Group, LLC. So her private practice is New Beginnings, Fresh Start Counseling Group, LLC. And she guides her clients toward better interpersonal and interpersonal relationship success. That was a lot. Let's say that again. She guides her clients towards better intrapersonal and interpersonal relational success. She is currently an assistant professor at Spring Arbor University and an adjunct instructor for Liberty University. Well, let's invite and welcome Dr. Saudia Twine. Hi, Dr. Twine.
Hello there.
Boy, that was a very impressive background. I got tongue twistles.
Years of work, that's all. Nothing impressive.
They're testing my reading skills, and I'm wore out because this is our third day.
Oh.
Good to see you, though. Where are you calling in from?
Southfield. Well, no, sorry, West Bloomfield.
West Bloomfield. Oh, you're right here in Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, welcome.
Well,
I didn't hear you.
you're in Michigan as well?
Yes, we're in Southfield.
Oh, okay, wonderful.
We're in Michigan. Yeah. So, tell us, what's your spin on Juneteenth? Let's kick it off like that. What's your spin on Juneteenth?
Oh gosh, Juneteenth, I think you may have already heard other versions of this, but I think in my opinion, it just really boils down to the freedom to be free. And it's a choice, and that it's a choice that unfortunately that was stripped from us. That was, to me, unconscionable. But in the same sense, knowing that it is now more recognized and becoming even more recognized, I would say globally, is the fact that we're having a gift that is returned to us. So it's life-changing. And to me, it's really just the beginning of something new. I don't think it's the answer or end. I think it's a start to a new beginning, and for each individual to just shape it in the way that they feel works best for them.
Keep moving forward, right?
Exactly.
Keep moving forward. Awesome. Well, tell us about your book.
Oh gosh, so much to say. So in a nutshell, my book is titled Get Naked, Learning to Love Again Without Fear. And it's really, even though it's a collaboration of something professional, it includes something personal. So I ended up basically, I think like many people, I won't say everyone has this experience, but a lot of people do, where they have a heartbreak, and then after that, they're trying to figure out how to get back to themselves. And then when they're moving forward in relationships, they're hurt. They're trying to figure it out, not knowing exactly what to do. So we take that hurt along with us, and that makes the new person have to pay for something that a previous person may have done. And I think when I was walking through it, it was just a matter of recognizing, wait a minute, there's something here. And I just felt led to not really just share my story. I just use myself as an example. I'm a therapist, and it's always easier to share my own stuff as opposed to other people's stuff, just because of confidentiality. So I use myself as an example, but explaining the process of how to go from brokenness to wholeness again.
Wonderful. So do you have a copy of, let's see the cover of the book. You have a copy of it?
Oh, sure do. Just so this is the actual book.
Oh, I see you have, is that a mixed couple or
No.
It's black woman, okay. Gotcha, Get Naked, beautiful cover, beautiful cover. How many pages?
Actually, because it is a collaboration of like a workbook, I didn't just want it to be something you just read and.
Oh, it's a workbook too, wonderful.
Workbook at the end of each chapter, so it's 291 pages, and at the end of every chapter, there's a workbook process to kind of work through.
Oh, that's wonderful. So is that a book for an individual to read or for the couple to read together?
Actually, it's for an individual, and if I could share an example to kind of give you an idea, I think if I use the example, let's just say hypothetically somebody breaks their leg. right? So they break their leg, unfortunately. They go to the hospital, they get it set in a cast or what have you. And as a result, they go home, sit for 6 to 8 weeks, and life is different. They're not mobile like they used to be. They're trying to figure things out. How do I shower? How do I put on clothes? What clothes I'll put on? They're reconfiguring everything. And finally, when it seems as if they get it all together, seemingly, it's time to go back to the doctor. You do, and you go into the doctor's office, they look at the x-ray and they're like, oh wow, let's take this cast off, great. This bone is now healed. The first thing the doctor tells you is stand up. And your mind heard it very clearly. And you go to do it, and then your mind says, you remember what happened the last time? Let me take you back. And your mind connects a memory with emotion. So it connects the emotion with the experience, and that experience was painful. So as a result, you stop and like, no, I can't do it. And they're like, no, it's okay, you can do it. So once they coax you into really knowing that you can stand up, then when you do, it's like, okay, then they'll say, okay, we need you to move a little bit. Well, now we need you to go to rehab, and rehab is that process. So those are 3 phases from going from brokenness to healing to then being whole. And the book really looks at that from a heart aspect, whereas when we are really experiencing a heartbreak, we go through a place where we're broken. We're accustomed to being attached to this previous individual, and now we have to live life differently without them. And it's just difficult whether they are alive or no longer with us. And so because of that, it's a matter of learning how to readjust, and you're figuring that out in that brokenness phase. But then when we get to healing, we recognize that memory, that wait a minute, I want to date, I want to fall in love again, but I'm scared, I was hurt before. And a lot of times we figure it out. We play while hurt. We get back on the dating scene while still being hurt. And because of that, we may cause ourselves some damage, and sometimes there are some innocent bystanders that get hurt as well. And the healing process that I explain in the book is really a matter of learning how to heal your own hurt. You know, there's a saying, hurt people, but healed people, heal people. And it's really a matter of walking through that process, understanding where your fears, emotional fears come from. And that's where I get a little bit professional in the book. I'm a marriage and family therapist. And so in my practice, I work a lot with couples as well as individuals that in some shape or form, I'm dealing with love, sex, marriage, and relationships. And it always boils down to love. And it's a matter of that healing phase of really just helping people to really figure out what that means for them. And then just shaping what their future looks like. So when they're in that whole phase, that could be a new relationship if that's what you choose, or if you say, hey, that's not for me, no problem. It's a matter of being whole and secure in yourself, in your own self-worth, in your own self-confidence, so that whatever the next level or the next phase of life present to you, you're absolutely ready for it, because you're not bringing the baggage from your past, but you are using your past as momentum in moving forward.
Gotcha. So your book, is it for the woman and the man, or is it for who is it for? Who's the reader? Who's the main reader of that book?
The main reader is for women. And if I had to pinpoint a target population age, I would say anyone that is probably mid-adult, 25, probably to 43. Okay. Not saying that a man couldn't read it, but you know, if a man did read it, he might see a lot of she's and hers written in the book. And I wouldn't want anyone to be put off by it. The message itself is general, but it really is geared towards the woman. And I say that because most women, you know, and I'm not trying to take any credit.
It's a great book, by the way. It's really, really needed. It's a great book.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm not trying to take credit away from men, but women do a lot in regards to, hey, I might be hurt, but I still have to get up, go to work, take care of these kids, take care of family or what have you. And it's really a matter of just helping us to heal, because when we heal, we have stronger relationships. Strong relationships mean stronger families, and stronger families are stronger societies in general.
It seemed like a women's healing Bible for survival to be. You know, it's a survival guide for women who might have been recently hurt or divorced or.
Actually, it's a mix of two, because the divorced individual, now this would be a foundation for that person because they have a lot of other things to consider in regards to co-parenting, having to deal with this individual. But at the end of the day, if we take all of those variables away, we're really just looking at one person, whether they've been with someone for, you know, a lifetime partner, but at least someone that you've been with for a year, because it takes a year to be attached to someone to have this type of hurt. So being with someone for at least a year from on forward, and that could include a divorce or even in regards to the loss of a spouse. But it really just helps you to process that hurt. And it's the fact that in life, we don't generally have the time, not necessarily take it, but we don't generally have the time or make the time to be able to process our hurt.
Well, you guys, if you're just tuning in, you are listening to Dr. Saudia Twine. She's from West Bloomfield, Michigan, so she's right here in the D area. She is the author of Get Naked, Learning to Love Again Without Fear. So there's hope, okay? And it's healing.
Exactly.
Tell them how they can get your book and what's the cost of it.
The book is available on Amazon for $17.99. However, for those out there that, you know, hey, I want to take a sneak peek first, then I offer opportunity for you to really look at chapter 1 and kind of give you opportunity to work through an exercise through that chapter. And you can do that by just going to bit.ly/Get Naked Chapter 1.
Awesome. And we'll make sure we note that information when we put you guys up at the end of the programming for the Juneteenth event. We have a question from the audience. Deborah wants to know, how long has Dr. Twine been practicing in her field?
So I have been working in the counseling, coaching field for 11 years now.
Oh, okay, 11 years. Wonderful.
And generally the entire time I've been working, I honestly just noticed I started gravitating towards people that generally just had some issue with love, sex, marriage, or relationship. No matter what we talked about, it always came back down to that. And that's when I just started really honing in on it.
Let me check, see if there's somebody coming to our house.
I started working with people that were mainly couples.
Okay.
That became my niche, and I just really just fell in love with working with couples. They're a little bit challenging, but to me, they're very rewarding.
So in high school, were you like the person to go to for relationship problems?
You know what? It's so funny because
Awesome.
a true introvert. And I was not, anywhere close to being popular in high school. I had my little niche of friends, but oddly enough, as much as I didn't like talking, people would come to me sharing their stories, asking me for advice. And I remember this one time a coworker asked me as far as her children. I'm saying to myself, really? Because I don't have any, and you're about 20 years older than me. Are you sure you want advice? And after a while, I had to start paying attention, like, wait a minute, what's going on here?
It takes a while for people to learn and heal.
Oh,
it
yeah.
takes a while for people to learn and heal. So that's a great book for women. And today, with the way things are going on with dating, thank God I'm not dating anymore. It's hard.
Oh, it's definitely hard. There are so many avenues that people try, but in the same sense, people are really busy. And we hear the term, oh, you should date like you trying to look for a job. And it's like, really? It shouldn't have to come to that. That's not my opinion. I think you can just happenstance. I think the best love happens when you aren't looking for it, and it ends up finding you. And I agree
with that whole nature. I do.
I think it's just the best. I mean, I think if I look at myself personally, I have never went out looking and found anyone. But when I thought I was going out and I was looking a hot mess, running to the store, that's when it seemed to happen. So it comes out of nowhere.
That should be chapter 1 of your book. Women do not go out looking. You can't go look.
Exactly. It finds you. It really does.
Well, we appreciate you being on our Juneteenth Virtual Book Fair today. And your book is wonderful. I encourage all of our readers to get Dr. Twine's book, especially if you're dating right now or you just got out of a relationship. And it can be hard trying to bounce back. Sometimes we need guidance. But we have Black people, Black writers like Dr. Twine who are writing these materials. That's why we do this show, so we can connect our book writers to our book readers for different subject matters. And we want to get in your book. I have somebody I can share that book with as a gift. I tell our audience to please give books out as a gift, because the more we read, the more better we are in all areas of our lives. From relationships, the finances. You got to read and expand your imagination and see what people are doing right. You know,
Exactly.
it'll change your ways quickly if you're focused and you're ready to do it. You know.
Exactly, and that's the key. If you're ready, then there's something out there that's available for you. And there's always someone that you know that is going through something, and you can share with them just simply because it really is a workbook that will allow you to help you to see things differently, feel differently, and then behave differently so you can have the love that you want.
We have one more question for the audience, and we'll let you go because we're 3 minutes out. Melissa wants to know, can you repeat that website to view chapter 1?
Sure. It's bit.ly. So bit.ly is bit.ly / get naked chapter 1. And then 1 is the number 1.
Okay. We'll make sure we get that from you so we can put that up with your information at the end of our Juneteenth virtual book fair. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming. And we look forward. I was telling all the authors that we're going to start a marketplace for African-American authors to sell their books on for Detroit Big City. So I'll make sure we be in touch with you for that. It's very, very affordable. And it's a way for them to go to one portal and buy African-American books because our physical store is closed now. Okay?
Okay. Thank you so much. I totally enjoyed it. Thank you.
Have a good rest of your day, honey. And if you're any fathers around you, tell them Happy Father's Day.
Well, thank you. The same to you and your family.
Okay, have a good one. All right, that was refreshing to talk to Dr. Twine. You know, we got the Black professional that works with, she's a licensed marriage and family therapist. And she's a professional counselor and a relationship coach. So if you need some coaching, if you need some therapy, don't be ashamed to get it. Don't be ashamed to improve self. This is our whole purpose, is to connect and to collaborate. So that's what we're doing today. If you need any of these authors and they can help you in any kind of way, contact them. We're going to make sure we post their information along with all the authors who participated in this platform this weekend. Let's get moving on. So we are 5 minutes out. So we'll just roll out with the last person. They'll get more time. We have Desmond Williams up next. Let's see where our next author is. Okay, let me get ready to read this long. Let me test my reading skills again. Desmond Williams is a career teacher, principal, author, and thought leader. He is driven to help all children live their dreams. Desmond has two dreams growing up. He wanted to design Transformers and to be a sitcom writer. After having many teachers tell him those dreams were silly, he decided he wanted to teach because he knew children deserved better. He has spent time his entire life, or his entire professional career, working with youth, serving as a special educator, classroom teacher, assistant principal, and principal. Wow. His educational philosophy is simply that education should be used for the process of building and maintaining a nation. Freeze here. Desmond served 6 years at an all-boys school in Washington, D.C., teaching 4 years and serving as principal for 2 years. His first year as an administrator, reading scores soared to 64% proficient. Wow. In the second year, and upon his departure, the Bishop Walker School boasted reading scores of 83% proficiency. After leaving BWS, Desmond founded and launched Nylinka School Solutions. One of Desmond's big goals was to help other educators increase the level of engagement and investment of boys of color. Mr. Williams does this by leveraging his experience and his expertise to aid schools and school districts. The goal of Nylinka School Solutions is to help children achieve their dreams one solution at a time. In all, Desmond has spent 9 years as a teacher and 7 as an administrator. However, his greatest satisfaction is seeing kids maintain their enthusiasm for leaving their mark on the world. Powerful. He has recently ventured into the world of writing. His first book, The Burning House, Educating Boys in Modern America, was released in February 2020, and his debut, as a #1 new release. In the fall of 2020, Desmond will return to Howard University to pursue his PhD, educational psychology. Wow, what a background. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Desmond Wells. Hi, Desmond, how are you?
Hello, how are you, Miss Janice? It's so good to finally meet you.
Oh, I know, same here. What a very strong background you have here, sir.
Oh, I don't know about that, but thank you. I'm receiving that.
That's very impressive. So your book is called The Burning House, Educating Black Boys in Modern America.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Wow, that's so relevant right now, so needed. But before we get into your book, let's talk about Juneteenth. Give us your story about Juneteenth.
Well, I think, what Juneteenth means to me is that African Americans need to stay vigilant in terms of what we're dealing with the death of Breonna Taylor and Rashard Brooks and George Floyd. We've seen, police reform and, laws are changing, but there are more than enough laws on the books to protect African Americans, right? I mean, President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Was it January 1st, 1863, and it took another 2.5 years for our people to become free. So, my message or my warning would be, particularly for young African Americans, is the celebrations are nice, but we have to be mindful of the fact that we got our freedom from fighting. And that what we're dealing with right now, regardless of the laws that are being passed, we will stay in a perpetual state of fighting and resisting until we get true freedom, justice, and equality.
I like the spin on it.
Sorry if that was like too deep or something, but
deep
yeah, that's
deep as the river. I mean,
yes, ma'am.
I love to hear the feedback, from the authors, because you guys are in the mindset always with writing, about what's on your mind. So that was very powerful and profound.
Thank you.
So tell us about The Burning House, Educating Black Boys. You have a copy of the cover. Can we look at that real quick so we can?
I do. Here's the book. It came out in February 29th of this year, to be exact. But I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan.
Okay, we didn't know that. You're from Detroit. Wonderful.
I grew up in the D, Cass Technical High School. I grew up off of Greenfield and Schoolcraft.
We went to Finney and we had the same colors, green and white. So I had to say.
Oh yes, I had some friends from Finney. Yes, ma'am. But
and Persian. I graduated from Persian though, so I better throw that in real quick.
go Doe Boys. Go Doe Boys. But essentially, I moved to DC to attend Howard University, and I've been a career educator. And this book, Sister Janice, chronicles what I would call my miseducation. And I talk about even being a teacher and as the principal, how I was complicit in the destruction of Black boys. And I had a wonderful opportunity to work at an all-boys school. And essentially, even after approximately 13 years in education, didn't have a true sense of what a school for Black boys should look like. So I just began to reinvent myself as a teacher and as a practitioner and decolonize my own thinking around what should be happening for our boys, not only in my classroom, but in the entire school and for our boys across the country.
So your book, is it for teachers or is it for parents? Who's the book targeted to?
This book is targeted for teachers and parents, but it's actually targeted, I would say, for the entire African American community, because when I start giving advice and consent on what we need to do, I talk about this notion of community control. So even the older generation who don't have school-age children, they need to be involved in what's happening in the school 5 blocks from their house. And this notion of community control is super critical, and it's just a given in white communities, but it's not something that's readily accessible for us. But at its core, it's a resource for teachers, principals, and parents, but all stakeholders and all people who believe themselves to be a part of this this fight for equity.
Yeah, they say it takes a village, right? It takes a village. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
When did you publish the book? Let's see the cover again. We're selling your book. When did you publish?
Okay.
When did you publish it?
The book came out February 29th of this year. Okay. Yeah, February 29th of this year. It is not autobiographical. It's nonfiction. Okay. There are approximately 230 notes in the book. I talk a little bit about myself. I've interviewed teachers. For all of your educators who are listening, I take myself out of the space of listening to the Sigmund Freuds and the Piagets and the Kohlbergs, and really focus on the Lisa Delpits, the Amos Wilsons, the Cheryl Matthiases, and the African scholarship around what should be happening for our children. Because essentially what has happened is, and I think you can appreciate this as a book owner, a lot of the Black-owned books and the Black scholarship has been hoarded, and we simply can't get access to it. So even going to a school like Howard University, I had never heard of Jawanza Kunjufu. I had never heard of Amos Wilson. It wasn't until I started looking for my own reawakening that I was exposed to those authors. So I try very much to bring in a variety of voices and give the reader the opportunity to learn from not just me, but the people who taught me, if you will.
So is there a curriculum in the book, or is it just a bunch of tips and resources that people can grab? What
so it's not a curriculum. I do, as a former teacher, I was a classroom teacher for 9 years. So I do, because teachers from a professional development standpoint, they want to say, okay, what can I do tomorrow? You know, there are those very practical, down to the bone kind of tips on what you can do. But I also give step-by-step guidance on what I think families and parents need to do for community control in school. And I also give a bevy of tips for teachers and how to advocate for their children to change the systems and the machinations within their school. And there is a scope and sequence of a social studies and ELA curriculum that I created when I was a teacher / principal that focuses on African-centered learning for students in grades K through 5.
Is that going to be a future book?
Probably not. I critique curriculums. I don't really write them. Right. So probably not. I'm going to stay in the lane of. I'm sorry. I couldn't.
Studies. I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
I couldn't hear that last part.
I'm referring to African studies.
I'm going to say probably not. Probably not. I do a lot of work consulting schools on how to help Black boys. And if I'm asked to do some curriculum writing, I can jump into that space. But the heavy stuff I tend to pass on to people who are who enjoy that work more. I think is a good way to put it.
Okay, that's acceptable.
Yes,
so
ma'am.
How much is your book? What's the price on it?
The book with shipping and handling is $21. You can purchase it from me, but again, it's 227 pages. It's well researched, and I thoroughly talk the reader and walk the reader through what you can do to help and support students in a very practical sense, but also in a political sense. Yeah.
And how are you selling this today? From your website or Amazon? How can they get a hold of your book?
You can get the book on Amazon, but I encourage our viewers to purchase the book from me. You can get it on my website. That's www.nylinka.org.
very nice website. I'm looking at it now. Right. Thanks for putting it
Yeah,
up. Okay, audience, you can see, put it up one more time so they can see it.
sure.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, I'm at the website right now, and it's a very thorough website too. It's really, really nice. Wow.
Thank you. I had a young brother from Penn State by the name of Kareem Nellums do my website.
Cover, your cover is so, it's like, what's, it makes you think, what's going on?
Mhm.
They said, what's going on? The burning house.
Thank you. Thank you.
Create the cover like that. What gave you the idea that the house? I mean, where do you get your title from?
I'm so glad you asked because I would have forgotten. The title of the book, Sister Janice, comes from an interview that Martin Luther King gave on May 8th, 1967. You can find the interview on YouTube, but he was giving an interview to NBC News, and he was reflecting on the gains that the African American community got from the civil rights movement. And he essentially said, one, we got bargain gains because we didn't get what I had intended for us to get from the civil rights movement. And he said he thought he had integrated Black people into a burning house. And the burning house is a metaphor for what's happening in society that I take into schools. There are individual burning rooms in this house, whether it be special education referrals, whether it be the disenfranchisement of Black boys, whether it be 80%, a teaching force that's 80% white female versus school psychologists and counselors, which are 90% white female. All of those are individual rooms within the burning house. But that quote struck me because I was literally lost on YouTube watching King give this interview. And when he said that, it literally blew my mind because the original title for the book was going to be called The Work. Because a lot of people engaged in work in helping our children. We just literally call it The Work. But after that, I said, this is the burning house. And I just took that and went with it. Yeah.
You're calling in from Maryland, right? You're still in Maryland, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Congratulations on your book. It has a very, very eye-catching cover. It makes you want to open it up. And I think that was the whole purpose of it too.
Yeah, I really wanted to.
That's so, it's a hard time just in case somebody's just
I really wanted to grab the reader's attention. And I had this vision of children literally running out of a school. And when I went to my graphic designer, we literally settled on this, but no one wants to walk into a room that's on fire, let alone a house. So why do we continue to send our children into these spaces?
Good point.
Yeah. And in the book, that's not a rhetorical question. I asked the reader to consider that.
Yeah, I'm looking at your website right now. It says the house is ablaze. What are you going to do?
That's the $1 million question.
For Black men too, it's just, what are we going to do?
Well, I talk about it's important for families individually to figure out what works best for their children. But I think for us as a people, we need to be thinking in terms of ownership and starting our own privately funded, independent schools where we can focus on building ourselves up. I listened to the conversation that you had with Dr. Jennings.
Dr. Jennings.
And she talked about this notion so eloquently of Black men being defeated.
Right.
And how do you not pass that on to your children, right? You cannot do that kind of hardcore psychological work in schools as they're currently constituted. That's not what they're for. So the education of all children is a political act. And I say that several times in the book, but that's not my word. That's the words of Dr. Amos Wilson. So the question becomes, who politically benefits from the education of our children?
Well, we thank you so much for coming on our platform for Juneteenth. Your presence means a whole lot. You know, I love to
Thank you.
have a Black men on here that are educated and that can share their knowledge. You know, this video will be shown on Facebook. This when we hang up, I'll show it on Facebook, YouTube, our website. So, you know, we can spread the word and get people engaged with buying books that are written by Black folks, because we are the persons that can explain our path, our journey. You know, we're writing now. You know, there was a point before we couldn't write. You know, we would get lynched and killed and dragged, and you know, but now we have the freedom to write. So I think this platform may happen more often than you think. It may come out once a month now. I'm getting, you know, good feedback, and you know, this is a way for us to expose you guys. We knew nothing about you here in Detroit, and you're so this is phenomenal. I commend you for your work. Everything that you're doing.
Listen, I have to say, Sister Janice, I thank you because before this pandemic hit, I'm going to go here and I'm going to go to this place and I'm going to go to this place, and the plug, the plug was pulled on all of that.
We had some plans, yes.
I had plans for power movements to get on some good stuff, but it didn't work out like that. So I thank you for creating this platform for people like myself.
Yeah, we have to take advantage of this and learn this process real quick. I'm a quick learner. I'm not that old yet, you know. I'll keep learning as long as I can and connecting Black writers to Black readers as long as we own Detroit Book City. Okay.
Yeah, and I think if I don't know how much time I have, but I also think
5 o'clock. So the next last speaker. So go ahead, real quick.
I was just gonna say the notion of Black authors writing. I think from an educational perspective, is so important for teachers and the people who are on the ground to say what's happening, because most of the work comes from researchers and people who don't care about our children.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom today.
Thank you, good sister.
Listening to the other authors that we are going to have a platform that will allow Black authors to sell their books on. It's similar to Amazon, but it'll be ours. It's coming up very soon. So I will send you that information. So you'll have a gateway to sell through us, but you'll process your own order. So it is a marketplace, okay?
Awesome, awesome. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Oh, sounds good. Next time you get me, look me and my husband up. You hang out with us.
Yes, ma'am. I certainly will.
All right. Have a good one and happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth. Take care.
Okay, that was refreshing. Oh my gosh, I love all these authors that we're meeting this weekend. You know, I think this is just passionate for me. If I was to like quit right now from doing Detroit Book City, I'd be miserable. This is so passionate. You know, just meeting people in different places that are doing different things to make the world a better place. You know, for us, our culture, we really need to be nurtured. We really need to be nurtured. We need to stay focused, and we need to continue to move forward with writing. And, you know, we're going to continue to move forward with connecting you to these writers. So please, I encourage you guys, whoever's watching, to shop with them, buy their books. You know, there's a bright future for Black authors, and they're flourishing all over the place. But if we don't buy the books, they're not going to stay around. It's up to us. Yes. So our last speaker for the evening, the most honorable, Jonathan Wynn. I saved him for last on purpose because he is definitely a strong brother in Christ, and he is a great writer. He has many, many, many books to help you feel better about you. And I think he's also the coach or the priest, or not priest, but the person you come to pray with for the Detroit Pistons. So he's just a phenomenal guy. And I'm going to bring him up really quick. Let's read his bio, if I can get to it. There he is. Jonathan Wynn. He serves in ministry leadership positions on the local and state level. Jonathan serves as a chaplain of the National Basketball Association, Detroit Pistons. Woohoo, Pistons! Elder Wynn is the author of 4 books, most notably his award-winning RSVP, Receive Salvation and Validate Your Purpose, a guide to understanding and accomplishing your God reason for living. He also the publisher of Take Charge of Your Life, 10 Concepts to Consider. And he also published Impact Parenting. Jonathan is the founder and CEO of Kingdom Concepts as an education and organization consulting firm. He is a licensed school administrator and education advocate specializing in school culture, climate, and the education of Black and brown boys. Oh, speaking of boys. He is an active member of a coalition of schools educating boys of color, Central Detroit Christian CDC board director. Academically, he earned his master's degree in theology, business, and educational leadership. Jonathan is married with 4 adult children and twin grandchildren. Let's welcome to the platform, Jonathan Wynn, superstar. Hi, Jonathan.
Hello, hello. How are you?
Good. Good. I have you here twice, so which one are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well.
All right.
But I have to practice. We're only on the virtual thing, so there's a disclaimer that we have to have you on the screen. So let me see which one you are. Okay, got it.
There I am.
Good. How's it going? Happy Juneteenth.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so excited about being on this call today. I've been looking forward to it. I've been sharing it on all of my social media and anybody that'll listen. In fact, I have it live on my page right now.
Wonderful. And that's why I have you last, because I know you got a good word for us today. I know you got a good word for us. So let's top it off with what's Juneteenth to you? What does it mean to you?
Juneteenth is a very special day to me, and what it means to me, it reminds me of the reality that sometimes we just don't have information. We just don't know, and that was really what was most powerful about Juneteenth. If you can just imagine that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed, they were set free, but they didn't know.
Right.
And so they just continued in their servitude and continued going through what they were going through, not knowing that they were already set free. And so what's so powerful about it to me is that that's what happens many times in our lives. Things have been worked out. For example, you're going to get a job, right? You went through the process. You were hoping for it. You put your application. You went through your interview, but you're waiting for that call. Before you get that call, before you get the letter telling you what you got, guess what? They had already made a decision. They had already decided that you were the one. But in that interim time while you were waiting, sometimes we had anxiety. I wonder, are they going to call me back? I wonder how it's going to work out. But guess what? It's already been worked out. You just didn't get the message yet. And so Juneteenth reminds me to remain hopeful because God has already worked everything out. I may not have gotten the message yet, but I always have his promise. And so that's what Juneteenth means to me. So for us to keep hope and to remain hopeful and locked in on what God is doing.
Love it. Yeah, I agree. Totally agree. Everything you just said. You're right.
I'm sorry to be fired up on your program. You know I am.
That's why we have you last on our last day to get us fired up and to keep us fired. We need to stay fired up. We have to stay
Absolutely.
fired up. So your books. RSVP, Receive Salvation and Validate Your Purpose, a guide to understanding and accomplishing your God reason for living. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so RSVP, Receive Salvation and Validate Your Purpose. This book, I tell you, this was my first, well, it was actually technically not my very first book, but in recent history, it's my very first book. Many years ago, I did a book with my good friend Ralph Holly. We wrote a book called Paying for College, Plain and Simple. And we self-published it, and we went out and we sold all of the copies we could print. And but that was many years ago, back in the early 90s. And this book took 12 years to write a 57-page book. Now, that sounds kind of discouraging, but let me tell you, God gave me this idea for this book. He gave me the title and what it was about. Sitting in a church service, somebody was preaching, and I wrote the notes down, and it took me 12 years. I did all the steps that many of the people listening will do, I joined this Association of Christian Writers. I went to every workshop. I mean, I was doing it all. You know how we get on this gambit. And I was going and following through. And one day, and what the other thing I did, every time I saw someone who had written a book, and I still try to practice this today, I would buy a copy, you know, to be supportive, because I believe in, you know, you reap what you sow. And I would always say, God, when my book comes, I want people to support. So I would buy the other people's book. And one day I was talking to God and I was like, well, Lord, when is my time going to come? When is my time going to come? He said, well, your time is going to come when you write something. You never wrote anything. So that's why your book is not out. So, and it was just like, whoa. And then he told me, then the lesson came. So that was the reality. The lesson came when God spoke to me. He said, you know that planner you have? Because I follow my planner. You know that. I stick to my schedule. If I promise I'm going to be somewhere, if I'm going to be there, or I'm going to tell you I'm not coming. So he said that planner, he said, you never wrote my book in your planner. So you never planned to write. And so once I understood that, it just became a process of planning my writing time and just going forward. And so the rest has just been history. Also, I want to say that I'm so excited because my pastor, my bishop, my mentor, Bishop P.A. Brooks, who recently made his transition, passed away. We're having his homegoing services this coming weekend. But he wrote the foreword to this book. And it was such an honor, and he was so supportive. And because many of the things that I learned about what I write about, you know, I learned from him. And so it was just an honor to have him write the foreword to my first book. And
RSVP, what will the reader get out of that book when they open it up? What are they going to get?
What you get in this book is you're going to learn about two basic things. You're going to learn the fundamental things. What does it mean to receive salvation? You would be surprised how many different definitions people have or understandings they have of what it means to have salvation. The bottom line is to be salvaged means that God finds value in you. Even though you're on the junk heap, you know, we talk about you're no good, but God still finds value. And what he does is he salvages us and pulls you up to your purpose and shows you what your potential is. And that's really what salvation is doing. It's saving you from being cast aside. And so the other thing you're going to learn about is your purpose. Because if you imagine in life, I believe that God is going to have this great meeting. Just like you're having a great meeting. God's having a great meeting. He's having a great conference one day. And so you want to be a part of that conference. So what this book tells you about is how do you let the host know that you plan to attend, and how do you receive the instructions of what to do in the meantime. So you have to receive salvation. That guarantees you a ticket, but then you have to validate your purpose. In other words, validate this salvation that you're receiving by fulfilling the reason that he allowed you. And that's why I talk about your God reason for living. There's a reason that God brought us here to this earth at the time that we came, the family that he gave us to, what city you live in, the way you look, the way you don't look. There's all of that ties into your God reason for living. And so in this book, I lay all those things out in very simple terms, and I give you scriptures, all the scriptures about salvation, all scriptures about purpose, so that you can study and investigate it for yourself. But you'll be very encouraged with this book. I had a 14-year-old boy tell me this book changed his life.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah, I said, whoa.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a powerful book.
When you come around, I feel your energy. I'm like, oh my God, he's that great guy, Jonathan, with all that good spirit. Here. Yeah, you have to
listen. I'm excited and fired up to wake up every day, and so that's why with this book, RSVP has a 90-day devotional guide that goes with it. And so in that, and when people are in that transition, they're trying to make that change in life. They're going through different transitions. We say you need to pray about it. Well, most people don't feel comfortable praying, and they don't really know how to pray. And you get, how many times can you say the Lord's Prayer? I mean, so people, they give up in prayer. So God told me, he said, well, why don't you write it for them? So I wrote 90 prayers and scriptures from that book. You'll get one of those, 90 of those scriptures in this book. Each day you'll get a scripture and a brief prayer. And then you have opportunity to come reflect on how your day went. You also have a chance to project how you anticipate your day going. So it becomes a journey. And the whole bottom line of that book is that if you pray and read scripture 90 days in a row, you'll have your prayer momentum. You'll be encouraged. You'll be fluid in your prayer life. And so that's what I want to do. Take away the barriers.
I like that. I like that. Now, what about your other books? Do you have them with you? Because we have a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Wrap it up at 5. We got about 7 minutes, so show us.
Okay, we can do this.
Okay.
So the next book is called Take Charge of Your Life, 10 Concepts to Consider. This book helps you to think about how you think. Most of us, when we want to get serious about our thinking, we think about what? Our problems. Well, this book challenges you to think about your possibilities. In our community, many times we don't think we're serious or we're not real until we get negative. Well, I say, well, if God is real, you can get real with the positive. And so this helps you to think about how you think, and is very, now there are no scriptures in this book, but there's nothing in this book that contradicts scripture either. So it's very positive, a lot of activities in here, exercises to help you grow and develop as a person.
How many pages is that in that one, and what's the price?
Oh, I lost your vocal.
Oh, did you lose me? Okay.
This book is $14.99. The RSVP books are $12. And this book is about 190 pages.
Okay.
Take Charge is about 190 pages. And then we also have, because I'm an educator by trade, and so of course I'm going to do this. So we have Impact Parenting, Raising College-Ready Students. And so in this book, I've been doing parent training for the last more than 25 years, helping parents to help schools help their children. And so you can't help the children if you don't help the parents. If you're not willing to help the parents, then leave the children alone. That's my philosophy. And so, because we all have dreams. And so that's what the shirt is about. The tagline for this book is don't change your dream, change your strategy. And so I'm here to help people fulfill their dreams. Of who doesn't want their child to be college ready? Even if they choose not to go, you don't want them to not be able to go. And so that's what this is, showing you how to work with the school, how to get the most out of the school that you're already paying your taxes for or tuition, to make sure that your child is ready, not just to get to college, but to succeed. And so I'm sharing my journey and the success I've been able to have with my own 4 children. And so I've walked this road, and I'm willing to share that with you. So coming up to 2019.
We have one question from the audience real quick. Deborah,
Oh, yeah.
do you think this book would be good for young men who are raising families? I think she's talking about your other book, though. Take Charge of Your Life, or
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah.
Charge of Your Life.
Absolutely.
Or, RSVP. Maybe she'll respond.
Yeah, well, yeah. In fact, what I do in many cases, I give that as a package, RSVP and the Take Charge, because Take Charge gets into the practical boots on the ground things that you can do, and RSVP gives you the foundation. And then if you're raising children, you definitely need this because now you're leading your children toward what you were given the authority of being a parent for. And so all of that comes to what we've been dealing with lately. I wrote this book last year. It's called Anchored. This book was inspired by, I'm your chaplain for the Detroit Pistons in the NBA. And so I meet with those young men before every game, meet with both teams and share the word and give encouragement and counsel to them. So I did a series on 12 anchors of faith with them. And their response was so positive. God said, "There's your book. Write it, put it in a book." And so I took those lessons and transferred them into a book called Anchored: Strength in Hard Times, because we go through so many challenges in life. And you may be a person of faith, but you don't find, it gets kind of shaky once that pressure hits. So this book will remind you of 12 different aspects of your faith that you need to recall when you're going through a situation of trouble. For example, one of the concepts in there, we talk about how God is always present. Even when you can't feel him, he's there. And so that's something you need to remember, that when you're going through a pressurized situation, God wants you to win. He'll make you a winner. You need to remember that, because when you went to the extreme of what you can do, it's comforting to know I believe God. And guess what? Even if I can't do it, he'll make me a winner. And one example I love to use is I ran track at Cass Tech. We won 2 state championships. And, you know, so I was standing on the team picture. My coach and I, we laugh about that all the time because guess what? I never won a race. But when they had that picture in the showcase, it says 1978 state champions. I'm in the picture.
He made you a winner.
You made me a winner. So you can't say I wasn't a part of the group. But the group didn't win because of what I did. I mean, I went to practice and I suffered and all those things. You know, I built their confidence because I was so slow. I made them feel really good. And then here's the final edition. This just came out last week. This is a devotional that supports. Now, this is a larger format. This is 8.5 by 11 format. And it supports this book, Anchored. So I take those 12 anchors. I take the 12 anchors from this book, and we put them into this devotional. It's a 36-day devotional. And what you do in here, this book, you're going to tap into your creative side. So it's almost art therapy attached to the spiritual enlightenment. So in this book, you'll get a daily energy from me daily, where I just try to fire you up. But also you'll get scripture and you'll get exercises. You'll get a chance to reflect. You'll do some drawing. You'll do some coloring. You have crossword puzzles. I mean, word search puzzles in here. You're going to get a chance to write poetry about your situation. And this devotional guide is only $12, and the book is only $15.
So we have
and you can,
yes. Someone wants to know, how much is the bundle?
The bundle. Well, when you catch me live, I almost give everything away, and you know that when I. So I do bundles whenever I'm live or in person. But one of the things you can do, they do have offers through Amazon and Kindle. Some of these books are on Kindle, and you can get them for as low as 99 cents to $3.99 on Kindle, and they offer bundle deals through Amazon.
Okay, great. So
your best deal is to find out where I am when we get back to being live.
Give them your email address. That way that they can message you direct.
Yeah, absolutely. So go to my website is jonathanwynn.com, and you spell it just like Jonathan in the Bible, JONATHAN, and my last name, WYNNE.com. Or you can follow me and reach out to me through Facebook, Instagram at Jonathan Wynn Inspired. You can catch me on Twitter, Jonathan Wynn or Jonathan M. Wynn or John M. Wynn. All of them will come to the same place. And so I'm pretty accessible, and you'll be able to reach out to me through those venues.
Well, you definitely have some great books that will change people's lives.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. It's Father's Day.
It's Father's Day.
So before summer ends, I have another book coming out, and I'll tell you, it's going to be a blockbuster. It's dealing with fatherhood, and so it's called Father Figure: Lessons in Leadership. And I share my journey as a father. I go through being a young father, being a father education, being a community father, being a spiritual father. I mean, I talk about these things, but not just about me, but what I learned from different father figures who poured into me, and things that I've taught to people that I have been father figure for. So it's a powerful, powerful book. I'm really excited about it. So look for that to come out. It'll be out this summer.
Sounds good. Now, once again, tell them your website.
My website is jonathanwynn.com, and my Instagram is Jonathan Wynn Inspired. Facebook, Jonathan Wynn Inspired, and you can catch me there, and I try to keep it updated pretty regularly.
Well, Deborah says, thanks. I definitely can't wait so I can give them out as gifts. Isn't that wonderful? And
absolutely. Absolutely.
This is a great guy you're looking at right here. It's like when he walks into the room at our book expos, because we usually hold them physically, it's just an inspiration to have him in the room with his books, honestly. It changes, his books change the souls, you know, it makes you look at things from a different perspective, you know. So we are so happy that you came on here today. I'm glad you stick with us with all our platforms. And, you know, what would it be like to have a book fair without Jonathan Wynn? So,
well, if you had a book fair without Jonathan Wynn, he'd be in the audience. So you can't get rid of me, whether you let me speak or not. I'm with you.
You heard us mention to all the other authors that we're finally, because of COVID-19, and we can't physically have the store open. I don't feel comfortable. Like I said, I know too many people that lost people, and we're at that age range where we can be impacted. So I want to make sure we're all safe. So I thank God for this platform so we can still have our book fairs. And if we have one in the fall, it'll be the Fall Family Book Fair online, and we'll have our Holiday Children's Book Fair online if we need to. We're going to continue to host these book fairs. We're going to continue to connect you guys to these avid readers who are looking for your books. But we're going to come out with a platform like this week. It's a marketplace where, just like Amazon, you get on there, you load up your stuff. It's a small monthly fee. When you get orders, you process them and they go out. So you're basically renting space to sell your books. We're going to be able to link it from Detroit Book City, since we're like thriving right now and people are so excited, and we actually making some really good money right now. So we want to make sure that they have that portal to go to, because, you know, we buy our books from suppliers, that portal to go to buy the African American only books. So that's coming very soon. I'm going to send you that information.
That is so phenomenal.
Yeah,
that is so phenomenal.
People are buying from all over the world. Our followership is now up to 5,000 plus. That's people who are liking our page, but technically we're probably got about 20,000 people following us. So
yeah, wow. But you deserve it. You deserve it. And, you know, and I'm constantly letting people know about Detroit Book City. I'm a part of a lot of other groups, and I'm always reminding them when they want to know where to find Black bookstores. I say, well, we have some.
People have really,
and so you guys are at the top of my list.
Wonderful. We're so glad to be in the light with you. So that's for sure. We can't help but be blessed. So thank you so much for participating in the Juneteenth virtual book fair. And I appreciate everything you do for our community, for the boys, and just your presence. It's just it's a blessing to be around you.
Well, thank you so much, and just love what you and my brother, Mr. Haynes, what you all do, how you work as a team, and your family, your children. You guys are an inspiration and a bright light. And I have to say Happy Father's Day to my brother today.
Okay. He threw his hands up. He's in the kitchen. We're home right now. So,
hey, tell him I really appreciate the great model for those T-shirts, man. He's just multi-talented.
Yeah, he's over here living like he's a teenager, but hey, we both are. So, you know, we compliment each other, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Of those two grandkids of yours, they are so cute. Give them a hug.
Oh.
Because they came out and they had their earbuds on. It looked like two little geniuses walking around. They're so cute.
That's right. That's right. So what I tell them is I'm already teaching them to chant, go blue, go to Harvard. Go blue, go to Harvard. So.
Right. All right, so we'll be in touch soon. And like I said, thank you so much for participating, and Happy Father's Day.
Oh, thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. Thank you.
Okay, well, that is our show for the evening. Wow. What a phenomenal day to sit here for 3 hours and talk to some phenomenal people who are writing about the Black experience. It's a pleasure. It's my passion. And this is what I'm supposed to be doing. When I get caught up in many projects with doing books, you know, I sit here and I've been doing publishing for a long time. And I get into a moment where my mind just go blank. But then something spiritually comes through me that lets me know you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So don't have any fear with anything. Just keep moving forward and keep helping connect people to books that matter. Stories matter. You know, it comes from our souls. You know, we have to get this out of our bodies, what we're feeling. And, you know, we have to put books into motion that teaches us how to be a better person, a better people, better culture. And to me, because I'm an avid book lover, if I don't have books around me, I feel like I'm less than what I am. I have to have books in my life. And I'm hoping that if you're watching this, that I know you just like me, you love books as well. So don't stop reading, and let's make sure that we continue to support Black authors because their future is very, very bright. We got to remember in the 1900s, we weren't able to read and write. And then when the 60s came around, they decided to put Blacks on the front covers of books and all that for material gain. You know, then the 80s came around and it came this phase of writing with the novels, African-American writers writing novels, and then it faded again. So our culture writing has always been in and out because of the way it started here in America. But it's up to us to continue to write. You know, it's up to us to keep sharing our experiences. And it's up to us to sustain the Black books by supporting the Black writers. We have to buy from them. If we don't buy from the Black writers, they're not going to be Black writers. So let's continue to this movement. This is Juneteenth weekend, and I had a fabulous weekend of sadness when I think about the past and what our ancestors been through, but also of blessings when I look at our shopping cart online. You know, they're buying books. People are reading. This is the time to read. Some people are still sitting still because of COVID. You know, COVID-19 has changed our lives. It's changed our world. And we have to be a resilient people. I heard that many times this weekend. That's one of my key words now. A resilient people to keep our race in a positive light. It's up to us. And we got to teach our kids. And we have to read to our kids at a very early age. So I encourage grandparents and parents to build up your home library. You don't know where to buy books from, you buy from Detroit Book City. They're discounted. And then, like I said, our new portal is coming very soon, like as of next week, so that you can buy African American books. So stay safe. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers. And keep reading and sharing the word from the books. God bless. Have a great evening.